I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Phil, roll call, please.
Barn.
Here.
Lehman. Here. Underwood.
Here.
Gilman. Here. Chasm.
Here. Next item is approval of the agenda. Does anyone wish to make any changes to the agenda? I don't see a blue sheet here, so we don't have any additions to the agenda, but
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda as it is.
we have a motion to approve the agenda by Gilman, support by Horn. All in favor? Aye. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest regarding any matters on the agenda? Seeing none. Where next is public comment. Is there any public comment at this time?
Any person may make an advance appointment with the board regarding road commission topics for a regular or special meeting in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. If an appointment is made, the topic will be an agenda item. The following applies to public comments. Please state your name and address. The topic must be relevant to the road commission. Individuals are allowed to speak once for up to 3 minutes on a single topic, which may be extended by the chair. A group addressing the board requires a designated spokesperson who may speak up to 10 minutes. The board will not act on any item from the public that is not on the agenda.
Thank you, Phil.
Good evening. My name is Jim Story. I'm a resident of Traverse City. I'm here today to give positive endorsement to the idea of the road commission enhancing its reputation and image in the public for no cost. I was in Washtenaw County a couple of weeks ago where I grew up, and I just happened to pass a road commission garage. And they pulled in, and they had, the reason I pulled in is they had one of their big snowplows, well, smaller snowplows. And it was all painted up on the front. And I stopped and asked, what's going on? And they said, we have a program called Adopt a Plow. Doesn't cost a nickel, enhances your public image, and it would be a fun thing to do. So I encourage you to do that.
We do.
We do actually do that.
And we run it through the parade.
Yeah.
Here, great. I must have misunderstood something. I think I couldn't, we talked about this earlier, and I thought I couldn't believe we were doing that.
Call it paint a plow.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, we're good.
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
We could put that out right now, though, if we didn't thought it there, like, we're not using them. That'd be kind of fun.
Any other public comment? Right, seeing none. Moving on to our next action item, appointments. We have our county drain commissioner, Mr. Smits here, so. Mr. Smits?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for agreeing to the appointment today. I have a brief presentation and we'll avail myself as long as you like for question and answers. And thankfully Larry will index slides or is able to assist it.
I get it.
I've got a few. The purpose of the meeting today is to not only ask, I'll present the ask at the end, but also to just introduce the Drain Commission to the majority of new board members. Some of you may remember me from my past involvement in private practice, related to Bluff Road and some other things. They haven't really addressed this board as a fellow commissioner in a different department of county government. So if you wouldn't mind going to presentation mode.
Yeah, if you could just this and
He's just trying to get it into the Zoom as well. That's the application there.
And again, the intro slide is was the Cass Road drain improvements that took place the very first day I took office. I was handed the contract for a $1.5 million capital project that was teed up by my predecessor. Anyway, a phenomenally successful project. Next, please. Drain commission is not about plumbing, interior or right-of-way drainage. It's certainly not about sinks, but you would not believe the number of calls to the office that involve any aspect related to drainage. In fact, the majority of calls to the office have nothing to do with county drains. In every case, I try and facilitate the liaison to the appropriate party that can help the caller. That is a critical function. This is a state mandated office. And the county has an obligation to fund the office the minimum basic level of service. That service includes regular office hours. It includes responding to constituent requests. It is a partisan elected office, unlike nonpartisan judge court-related offices. It's one of the few county elected official positions. And just for trivia, there's 83 drain commissioners. 83 counties. Not every county has a drain commissioner. Sometimes for counties with populations under 25,000, the drain commission function is handled by a road commission. In all of Michigan, there's only 3 professional engineers that hold the office, 1 attorney and 1 former Michigan Secretary of State.
Yeah.
The Macomb County Water Resources Commissioner. The functions of the office, primarily to administer the state law, to respond to the public, to administer the office in terms of budgeting, procurement, and of course, customer service. These locations of county drains in our county. This is on the district electoral map. Very hard to see, but at this scale, there is a PDF file available of this presentation to you all if you'd like to look at it up closer in quiet moments when you're suffering from insomnia. But anyhow, there's 11 county drains. The ones that are listed in italics, I believe there's 6 of them at the top. They're listed in italics because they fall under a special provision of the drain code. They're referred to as private drains. We'll get into that a little bit further detail. But the targets are listed by the fund number. There is actually a dedicated fund for each. Each drainage district is a separate municipal corporation. The drain commissioner is a functionary for those corporations.
Very F11.
F11.
F11 view too, Commissioner.
Well, it'll, so back here.
Let me try something.
See back there, but it makes the image, it takes away the address bars.
What's Gilbert Park, Andy?
Well, that's a good question. Gilbert Park is the boat launch at the north end of Long Lake.
Ah, okay.
The drain consists of 2 catch basins, cross culvert beneath Long Lake Road, and a overflow from an adjacent wetland that feeds into the parking lot drainage.
Right. I think that's the only one I didn't know.
Well, you're not alone.
Maybe some.
The township supervisor and many of the staff at Long Lake Township did not know that either.
That one I don't remember.
Where was I? So each is indexed by its fund number. Each municipality has its own reserve fund for maintenance. And again, the ones in italics are a different chapter of the drain code. This is the drain code, by the way. A published version of it. It's got 25 chapters. It's no small read. But again, if you're suffering from insomnia, I'd be happy to give you one. Currently, the office is operating on about 6 or 7 chapters of this voluminous book. Many of the chapters are dedicated towards operations in most prevalent in the southern part of the state, which are inter-county drains, where drainage systems cross county lines. Here's an example of a private drain. This is out of chapter 18 of this book. The highlighted section is a easement, a drainage easement. This is Mount Hope Road. This is that short circuit that cuts across the intersections or short circuits the intersection of US 31 and M72 in Acme. This is an area under considerably advanced development right now. What you see here is an easement that is adjacent to and contiguous to the road right away. This drain was created in 1992, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And it may not actually be a drain. A drain has a district which it drains, a legal description which is created, which creates that municipal corporation. And within that drainage district, there is a legal description for the alignment of a drain. This drain consists of 7 different easement areas which are not connected. Okay? One of them may be connected to waters of the state, but every drain has an outlet to waters of the state. If it doesn't have that, it's something maybe not a drain because it doesn't drain anywhere. Drainage into an infiltration basin is a precarious notion because that basin has to continue to receive water without fail in perpetuity. So by definition, this may not be a drain, and part of my efforts since taking office has been to identify the administration of the office, whether or not every drainage district is a drain. There has been one drain which has been abandoned. The monies in the fund have been returned to the party that deposited them. And that private drain is no longer a drain. It's no longer on the county's books. This may be the next one. There's also one which serves the Sam's Club store in South Airport Road across from Applebee's on US 31. Believe it or not, the world's largest retailer subscribed to services from the county in 1991 for drainage service. To this day, I have not been able to find out why. I suspect it's due to the county ordinance, which was in operation at the time, which has since been rescinded. At that time, the ordinance the county operated was for soil erosion, sedimentation control, and stormwater management. That was later deemed by the courts to be unenforceable because counties are not allowed under state law to have an ordinance for stormwater. Townships, cities and villages can, but counties cannot. It may have been that Sam's Club was developed, the soil erosion soil erosion permit issued, predicated on the assumption that they would manage their stormwater through a county drain. And if you look at the old ordinance, it actually has provisions in it for subscribing for private drain services. So I was successful recently in getting hold of officers at Walmart. They're examining whether or not they actually have drainage easements. I cannot find any in the county or the township. And so that may be the next one following this one to be abandoned.
So how does that change anything for them, or does it?
Well, it changes things. What I alerted them to, and I'm sorry for this backstory, but between Halloween and Thanksgiving last year, the 1987 branch of the Cass Road drain collapsed. It pumped about 20 cubic yards of sediment into Miller Creek. It threatened the recently installed culvert under Cass Road, and certainly threatened the environment and natural resources. That pipe is contemporaneous with the pipe that delivers stormwater from Sam's Club to Miller Creek on the east side of US 31. That pipe goes underneath Harbor Freight. Imagine a pipe collapsing underneath a building that's occupied. What the county wants nothing to do with that. So I alerted Walmart of the prospective concern related to pipe collapse. I asked them for records of their inspections and maintenance. They have failed to deliver. And there I noticed that their agreement, may be terminated due to non-performance.
And
And they got a lawyer in touch with me right away.
it's interesting.
And they're performing remarkably, better than they were when I was talking with staff.
Mhm.
But we'll see, what they're gonna do. There are no easements for that water to go underneath that building. They're recorded. Again, I cannot, in good conscience, support the county having an agreement for drainage services. And that service is that if they fail to maintain their stormwater assets, the county will do so and bill them or assess them. So I'd rather have that agreement non-existent
Yeah.
than deal with an entity that is praying that their water continues to pass under a building without property damage or loss of life.
So if there are no easements, Andy, I mean, wouldn't that constitute as trespass?
It may, or it may constitute a prescriptive easement. But either way, it's not something the county possesses.
Right.
The property, the pipe in question begins after downstream of the boundary of Sands Club. And that's the entity that the county has an agreement with. So I've provided them, what I deem to be feasible engineering alternatives for that pipe. And I'm leaving it up to them to do the right thing. But they're on notice, and the township is copied, as is the county commissioner for that district, that the Drain Commission wants nothing to do with this agreement under these conditions. So there were 6, there might only be 3 at the end of this year. And everyone is getting the same due diligence and evaluation. Is it a legitimate, administratively, legally constituted drain, or is it not?
So going back to then, this particular, like you say, you're looking at this, is it really, so you take away whatever they feel is the approved drain, then they're done and they have to come up with a way to remove their water in another way somehow.
Yes, and the option presented to Walmart was we can either terminate the agreement or we can modify it. And if we modify it, we'll modify it to the satisfaction of the county.
Fascinating.
It's as I said in the introductory slides, this office is here to serve. I'm not here to make life miserable for anyone. We had an agreement and perhaps an expectation of service through predecessors in office, through prior agreements, whether they're perfected or not. So as long as the drain code allows that service to be provided, it's up to them to engage for that service under the terms that the county can provide. So in this case, we've got 6 disjointed easements that are adjacent to road commission right away. None of them outlet to waters of the state. So in order, as was the case with the private drain that had been terminated or vacated, through due diligence, we identified that the entity which deposited the funds initially was still a going concern. Notified them of their fund balance and returned a check to them. They cashed it within a week. In this case, this property was developed with one owner. Part of the agreement looks like it was an exchange of a soil erosion permit for this county drain service by one developer. And on the next slide, you'll see that it is no longer one developer. These are all the different entities I've got to deal with and figure out how does the seed land back to it or vacate right of ways, easements, as well as return funds. So the job is incredibly more difficult now that time has elapsed. But again, everyone warrants the same treatment, same process. Find out if it is or is not a drain and give the parties that perhaps had an expectation of service the opportunity to perfect the agreement or the terminator.
So just to clarify, each drain is in itself a drainage district or no?
The process is supposed to involve, first and foremost, the creation of a district.
Right.
Within that district, then, the next step in the process is the delineation, legal description of a drain alignment.
You mean the boundaries of that?
The boundaries of the district.
Right.
The linear feature is the course of the drain.
Okay,
The ditch, pipes, combination, retention areas, in some cases dams. There's a myriad of different things, but it has to have a legal description.
and it goes, and those have to be approved by the Office of the Drain Commission.
Through the administration of the drain code.
Okay, so when we have a situation like this, where you said that the waters of the drain, in order for it to constitute a drain, there has to be an outlet to the waters of the state. Was it at one point? Did it at one point have an outlet to the waters of the state, and something changed? I'm trying to figure out how it initially got approved, if it never had an outlet to the waters of the state.
Well, I join you in that wonder.
Okay.
And again, in every case, is trying to, through due diligence, scouring reference, putting together the fact pattern, and then making the next step based on what the facts reveal. In this case, easement H, the magenta colored one, then it's actually right in front of the Sleep Inn, I believe. Holiday Inn, I'm not sure which is which.
Yeah.
And it is a retention basin adjacent to the MDOT right away. There's a structure, catch basin, immediately to the south along the highway. I suspect that they're connected. My request from the local MDOT TSC did not result in the delivery of plans and profiles for that structure. And I'll put the onus upon the property owner for properties labeled number 2 to dig up those records. If they seek to have the drain abandoned, which they do, then the onus is on them right now to come up with these records. But there is no indication that from anything I found that there is any connection to East Bay or to Acme Creek, which is on the image to the right.
Is Miller Creek in that?
No.
No, Miller Creek is the Sands Club.
Oh, okay, so if I remember correctly, when Meyer was being built, wasn't there some sort of a failure in the soil erosion measures, and it resulted in a large deposit of sedimentation? Did it occur in this area, or?
Oh, you're talking about the Meyer Lane?
Yeah,
Just
Yeah,
to the
Williamsburg.
east of this area.
Yeah.
okay. What, did that impact this drain, or?
No, this drain, again, this drain doesn't drain anyone.
Okay.
These are a series of,
Yeah, okay.
a series of independent easement areas that are retention in nature. They don't convey water. They store and infiltrate it.
Oh, okay.
The exception may be H that might have a pipe connection below US 31.
Yeah.
Which might outlet to where the old Embers restaurant was into the East Bay. That is yet to be determined, but in the worst case, 9/10 of this, or I should say 5/6 of this becomes abandoned, and then the private drain becomes just area H.
And do you have to follow a process in order to abandon a drain?
Chapter 17.
Okay.
Did you know that
Is it on there?
the road commission has its own chapter in here too? Did you know that?
I'll bet it does.
Chapter
Some
13.
point out.
I don't know why chapter 13.
There is no danger in us taking over your office. I just want you to know.
Yes.
that. We will not be one of those counties with a road commission running the drain.
There's danger in somebody taking it over.
Us.
Yeah, I think we're done with this one. This is an example of a chapter 4 drainage district. This is a more conventional intra-county drain. The dark shaded area, this is the Cass Road Drainage District. The original district is shown there. This is the 1987 boundary. It was expanded considerably in 2000. I think the final boundary was adopted in 2018, 2019. And the project shown in dark black dashed line was what I started my term in office doing. That's basically Miller Creek. And the project consisted of 3 phases, 2 culverts, one underneath the MDOT rail right away on the right portion of the boundary. The Cass Road culvert, box culvert, or Cass Road, and then everything upstream of that, mostly earthwork.
And the earthwork to increase the floodplain, did that happen at all? I remember the discussion that was one of the solutions.
What happened, actually it was an unnecessary solution. It's suspenders for the belt. It's basically a dike or the completion of a dike system that isolates everything north of the dike from the floodplain of Miller Creek. Okay. Since there are 2 floodways through that dike, and they've been maintained in the open position since I took office, all the extreme storm events that have occurred have now resulted in flooding north of the berm. Water is allowed to pass through the berm, and it has not resulted in flooding of occupied properties. The 1987 branch, shown in dash green, more or less parallel with Cass Road, and approximately 400 feet west of it. The collapse took place about 1,000 feet upstream of the new drain.
So, Andy, what triggers an expansion of the drainage district boundaries?
Petition, and in this case, the petition was by the road commission.
Okay,
You all,
and what are the criteria, I know that your office considers in reviewing that?
well, the statutory criteria, see if I've got it handy. The key words are: if it is necessary for construction or maintenance of any highway to take surplus water across adjacent lands, any of the following may submit an application or petition to the drain commissioner of the county or counties in which the highway is situated. Okay, that was the enabling provision that allowed the road commission to petition for a drain, or drain expansion in this case. And as you can see, the area served, those deriving benefits from those improvements, got much, much larger. And right now, you know, the southern terminus is pretty close to where the new U-Haul facility is being constructed up on the top of the Gray Hill. Doesn't quite get up there, but it's pretty close to the water tank.
They're probably quite happy they're not in that.
Here's an example I want to share with you of the success of that project. By the way, the link at the top, right underneath the slide title, I don't think it's live, but it could be. It's a 6-minute video of the construction of the Cass Road culvert. Time lapse.
I've seen that.
Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
No?
It's a big topic at our house.
Okay. So
It's actually a really cool video.
it is a real cool video. I can't wait to see the video for the railroad culvert, which was substantially a bigger portion of the project. But nonetheless, this is the bid tab and part of the pay application spreadsheet from part B of the project. As I said, it was broken up into 3 phases: upstream, Cass Road, and MDOT rail. This is the bid, the award, and the pay apps for the project. As you can see, the project cost for the Cass Road culvert came in at $492. Okay, it was under budget. The areas in red are areas where we saved. But the bottom line here is the map on the right. So the total constructed value of the road commission is that amount. You folks were only assessed $111,000 for that improvement. That's a monumental saving. That's largely because of all the partners you had in the cost sharing with that largely expanded district. And it's also the formula-based process upon which these assessments are derived. The MDOT 14A formula is hardwired, and it's based on the road right of way and impervious surface for the road within that district. So just want to highlight the value of collaboration.
What's the GTCRC supplemental 50,000 on top of that? Or
So that would be a great presentation in of itself, is the assessment process.
okay, that's this, okay.
Suffice it to say that if you look at the way those costs are broken down, there are supplemental assessments. In this case, Grand Traverse Band also partnered on this project. They just kicked in $200,000 because the culverts were enhanced to provide essentially riverbed quality substrate at the bottom of the culvert. And they essentially paid for that portion of it.
I believe the 50,000 was to put a left center turn lane through there for a future widening of Cass Road.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there, what are supplemental benefits that are benefits to a participant in excess of drainage benefits.
I see.
Next. Again, there are other opportunities for collaboration. Gilbert Park was mentioned. There is what appears to be an illicit connection to the county drain. It's a catch basin that's located in or at the margins of the Long Lake Road right away. And this fall, when maintenance occurs on that drain, either we're going to have to resolve the permissiveness of that connection, which is not part of the county's records for the drain, or we're
So
going to have
running a
to
parking lot drain into it or something?
a different property owner. There's a structure on a different property than the property in which the drain was built. It's connected to the most downstream catch basin on the north side of North Long Lake Road. And before it crosses the road and gets into Long Lake, that connection is not maintained. It's not permitted. It's not contributing funding wise, so it's either going to be disconnected or permitted. So that's part of the administrative process of getting these all up to date. You may be aware that the County Board of Commissioners decided at some point in the past 2 decades to fund the office at around $11,000 a year. And at $11,000 a year, you can hire a babysitter, maybe a paper boy, but you can't get service to county assets. So there was no service, essentially. So, off my bully pulpit. Other ones include, believe it or not, this is got a deeper dive into this. Timberlane Drive, which is, I believe it's 812 up there, right at the base of Old Mission Peninsula. That actually looks like a road pavement project. It doesn't look like a county drain. I don't believe there's going to be an outlet to that. It is a Chapter 4 drain, created under the process that I've identified separate from the county drain, or the private drain process. But I don't believe there's an outlet to waters and state. I still have to pull catch basins and televise pipes, but it looks like the project on paper, on the plan set, it looks like it was a pavement project. A little bit of drainage and some easements in a very hilly area of the Traverse City Peninsula Township border, where pavement was created on gravel roads with rolled edge curbs to direct stormwater. So again, this is my belief is, and I could be mistaken, you folks probably have this as a local road. In fact, it was built by the drain commissioner, or funded by the administration of the drain commissioner, and the construction administered by them. And if you've been on that road recently, you can see it falling apart.
What road is this again?
Timberlane Drive.
Timberlane Drive.
If you go up Center Road on Peninsula, before you get to Huron Hills, there's Timberlane Drive.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So does the drain commissioner, office of the drain commissioner have the authority to build the road?
it may have the obligation to if it's a drain.
Okay.
To be determined. So with this basket of, I don't want to say deplorables, this basket of challenges, it's triage. You have to do what circumstances dictate you do every day. So when I took office, it was $1.5 million construction project underway. That's pretty much all I did for the first year.
Yeah.
Right, in a part-time position. Then it's getting into the records and finding out what the rest of these children look like. And, you know, whether or not they're legitimate children of the drain commission or not.
Just for the benefit of the public, which was the $1.5 million project that you're?
Cass Road Drain.
Road, yeah.
So that was a $492,000 Cass Road culvert. If I recall correctly, the MDOT culvert was about double that. Then we had earthwork design, administration and so on, and the rest of the costs associated with that. So as I go down this list, that's one that's going to come up. And again, I'm getting the ask very soon, is that we spend more time together more regularly and get through these, because we have conflicting and or overlapping jurisdictions in some of these cases. Gilbert Road or Gilbert Drain is a perfect example. Timber Lane may be an extreme example, but I'll get the facts together before I trouble you with that one.
But Timber Lane being city, does that matter?
It's township. We're right on the border.
It's right on the border of
Yeah.
Peninsula there.
In fact, there might be one of the properties that was assessed that is in the city.
If it is in the city, then you work with city streets. Is that how it is, or?
The street itself is not in the city.
Right, but you don't have any drainage districts in the city, is that?
Not
what it is?
for,
Oh, okay.
this one looked like it was going to be in the city initially because the city did, as part of due diligence, looked through the city's records for this area. They had done extensive studies of this area around Eastern Elementary, around the water intake plant, because it's terrible drainage in there. NMC lost a building.
Mhm.
Recently constructed housing complex due to flooding right there off Eastern Avenue just in the last 2 years.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's if you look at a map, these challenges exist primarily in the county, outside of the private drains. The county drains exist in areas generally where there's a rapid change in topography from upland to coastal plain. The water moves quickly downhill, then it's got no energy left to go anywhere after that.
Yeah.
Okay. It just sits there and floods and swamps, and these are the prime pieces of real estate. Everybody wants to be on or next to the water. So as I was saying, after that is Deepwater Point, Dock Road, Deepwater Point drain shown over there in Acme. Just number is that 18?
18.
Yeah.
818.
It's got a limited amount of funding in it, but Dock Road, again, I don't know if you realize or not, but the drain exists within the right of way. Permitting culverts for driveways affects the flow of water through that drain. Okay. If we're not talking collaborating, we're at potentially cross purposes.
Andy, do you know if the road commission has a map or the information that shows which drains are within our right of way, so that when we are getting applications for permits and everything, that we know that we have to check with the Office of the Drain Commissioner or?
The answer to that question is no, currently. It's an ongoing effort. If we flip that couple slides, Larry, maybe to the Cass Road Drainage District expansion. This was created by, oh, I'm sorry, you just passed by one. There we go. This was created by GIS staff at the county in the equalization department for the purposes of uploading it into the GIS system. Again, with triage, it's one patient at a time.
Right.
And when this one got off the table, it's largely complete. I've got some filing to do, but I think this project is largely up to date, with the exception of a little bit of, like I said, work around the fringes. This will get uploaded if it's not already, and it will be available to environmental health when they issue soil erosion permits, or to anyone else who has access to GIS. And there is no funding for this office to do that. It will be making a request in this next budget cycle for some more funding. But, you know, this was done as a favor at the cost, staff cost of equalization.
You know, the reason I asked is that as we are internally have been working for months now in improving our permitting process and making sure that we are talking to the necessary parties when these requests are coming in. This is certainly, I don't know about the rest of the commissioners on the board. This is certainly news to me, and just thank you for coming in today and presenting this information. Because I didn't realize we had certain drains that are within a right of way, and it does make sense that when we are issuing permits or reviewing permit requests, that we are also looking at it from the standpoint of what impact it could potentially have on the county drain. So as we continue to improve our permitting process, it would be very beneficial if we had that information, so that our permitting department, as it develops that flow chart, that permitting process protocol, it can include that on the review.
It's an ongoing discussion with road commission staff, thankfully. Collaboration is the word of the day here.
Yeah.
For my attendance and that's my ask.
Yeah.
I see a great opportunity through mutual benefit through collaboration. The financial case study is one example of the benefit of the road commission. It benefits the county at large when right hand and left hand work together for their mutual benefit.
Right, absolutely.
Lastly, you may be aware that we've grown now in through the last decennial census to the size where the feds have their eye on us closely. That includes EPA. EPA will be requiring federal permits for stormwater discharges from every municipal separate storm sewer entity within the green shaded areas. I will have probably 3 or 4 municipal corporations to permit. You folks will be incredibly affected by this, as will the city and the county. The county has outfalls into the Boardman River at its campus downtown. So the next slide is a list of requirements that will be part of that permit process. These are unfunded mandates, those are often called. And I would suggest that one of the collaborative elements that we can do together might be to find out not only the piggyback, because these are redundant functions for every permittee in that green shaded area. They'll all be unique, but for instance, public participation and outreach is going to be a requirement that demonstrated through the permit by the permittee to the satisfaction of the state, the implementing agency for EPA's program. Okay. Why hold 4 or 5 different public outreach meetings? Why not have one?
Right.
Same thing with funding. Probably some grant funds that might be available for this. I've got a webinar that I'm going to be attending, hosted by EPA for grant funds for implementation. And again, if you've never been an NPDES, National Pollution Discharge Elimination System program participant, there's a steep learning curve, and I've been a water resources engineer doing NIPD's permitting for the last 25 years.
So if I understand correctly, under these new requirements, every time the road commission undertakes a construction project that could potentially result in storm water discharge, it has to apply for a federal permit?
Now you'll be under a general permit with a 5-year renewal cycle. There will be individual permits for individual projects, like your programs. The way that you do business will be required to be modified to conform to the federal standard.
Okay.
Now, it might be minor modifications, because my guess is you're pretty close to best management practices in many facets of this anyhow. But again, there's redundancy for various permittees in our region. All the water's ending up in the bay anyhow. So, why not find ways to not duplicate efforts? And again, this is nothing new. This is new to us. The MS4 program dates back to the 90s.
Right, just because of our sense.
Yeah, we finally grown up. We're no longer teenagers. We get kicked out of the, no.
Right, right.
So, and again, it's, a lot of this could be ripped off from some of the communities that are already permittees. MDOT is an MS4 permittee. Some of the programs you can just download from their website and tailor them for your own needs. But I would imagine the TMDL, the water quality requirements, and road salting and, trash control programs might be tweaked a bit. We'll see. And again, it could be that the drain code may provide an avenue for funding, something that we could talk about further in collaboration. That there's some aspects of the drain code that actually can fund some of these compliance efforts. I'm expecting it to happen within drainage districts, because unless the county board appropriates general fund dollars for new program requirements, this will be a compliance cost to each district. And just a shout out, this is the Riley Road block culvert. This office currently provides service to folks down in Green Lake Township in terms of controlling the lake level in Duck Lake. Duck Lake feeds into Green Lake and into the Betsy River. And when people upstream from this culvert in Cedar Hedge Lake were getting flooded out, their septic systems were actually getting immersed for property owners along the lake. And the folks in Green Lake were seeing their water levels drop. They called the operator of the dam at Duck Lake asking why they shut off the water to Green Lake. And it wasn't me, it was both these two, I believe 48-inch culverts were completely clogged with beaver debris. The year earlier, I pulled a couple of bicycles out of the westernmost one. And
Bicycles.
Rental bicycles from Crystal Mountain. Let's just shout out your, whenever I've got involved, again, like I said, most of the calls that come to the office have nothing to do with chemical drains. When they do come up, the liaison that I have with Stan has been so remarkably good that your operations staff were out here within 48 hours and jetted both these out to the relief of everybody on Cedar Hedge Lake and Green Lake. And I think that might be the last slide.
All right. Well, and Commissioner Smith, thank you very much for your presentation. Looking forward for the road commission to collaborate with your office. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity and wish you all a great summer.
Thank you to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Phil, if you could.
The consent calendar is used to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together without discussion. Request by any person present to remove any item from the consent calendar for full discussion as an agenda item are automatically respected. The action noted in parentheses for all items remaining on the consent calendar are approved by a single commission adoption of the consent calendar. The manager recommends the following items be adopted: 1, minutes; 2, payroll; 3, accounts payable; 4, financial reports; 5, communications.
Does any member of the board wish to remove any item from the consent calendar? Does any member from the public wish to remove any item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a support?
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Corn and support by Commissioner Underwood to approve the consent calendar. Phil, roll call, please.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood. Yes. Gilman.
Yes.
Horn.
Yes.
Chasm.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, next item is item D, reports. Staff, any items that Commissioner would discuss with the staff report, which is on page 34 of the packet.
I just wanted to point out the Jefferson Road, looks like a new bid went out for that SAD. That they had requested to try to see if we could get a little closer to the dollar amount, it looks like, and does it sound like they're interested in moving forward with that project this year or next year? Or is this just really like preliminary numbers?
Yeah, we did meet with a couple of the representatives in person and just we're trying to work and see if we can do anything for them. Unfortunately, being such a short stretch, it doesn't look like there's probably gonna be a lot of options, so
Okay.
they're gonna have to go back out and see if people are willing to revote them.
Yeah, a couple of their reps had shown up to that PR event that we had here and, you know, I just kind of wanted to make sure that there was follow through with them, but I saw that there was a bid that you guys had given. I mean, it was like 400 and something. I'm sorry, I can't find it on here right now.
Northwest person.
I don't have it on me right now.
Here it is, a new estimate of 411,458 was provided to the township. A revision of proposed work and new estimate. Which is. I just was curious with it, if that was, you know, have we changed the scope of the project and it looked like they had found a path forward, but it sounds like maybe they haven't, so.
I gave them one with they're really with, but they still.
Okay, that's what I
It
figured.
wasn't a much savings,
It wasn't
like 20,000.
It looks like,
Yeah.
yeah, it went from 427,400 to 411,400,
You
so.
remember what that special assessment district was approved for? When they met with us,
Yeah,
how much?
yeah.
It was way less than that.
In the 300.
It was in the threes.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the exact number, but
Yeah.
numbers in the threes.
I had a question about the project that's gonna start on the West Long Lake Road and South Long Lake Road. It says that Eagle denied our request for the permit. Can you tell us if they gave us a reason as to why they denied the permit?
That's good.
They were concerned about the effect of the culvert on the lake loads.
I thought we were gonna drain Long Lake.
So isn't there, aren't we replacing culverts? There's a culvert there, right?
Yes, there's.
So the lake hasn't been drained.
No,
So what was it about these two metal culverts that made them think that we would drain the lake?
well, in their eyes, the one culvert we're gonna put in was larger, so they put it out for public notice. I got some comments back and were concerned about the lake levels. They wanted to explore the effect on the lake deeper before they would grab this. But
In the meantime, the existing culvert, is it failing or is it about?
no, it's
What condition
it's
is
in
it?
good shape, but you know, someday it's not going to be.
So was there a reason why we were looking to replace the existing?
Usually
culvert?
Eagle recommends replacing the 2-barreled culverts with the single barrel that's wider to facilitate water flow, so you don't get, you know, beavers plugging culverts and such.
Okay, so they are on record now on.
We also denied when we went through talking about just lining it.
On one hand, the other, you know.
Yeah,
That we also tried to get it so we could line it, I think it's an 1/8 inch.
Yeah, they're about
They're concerned the
reducing the
exchange
diameter of that.
was gonna actually go up and then cause the lake poles to go up, so.
Have any of those people actually been outside or?
Yeah, right, right.
the other question.
This is
Yeah.
that funny though, really.
No, it's ridiculous.
Their behavior, Lansing, is just.
It's ridiculous.
I mean,
Because we all know in 2 years, they're gonna change their mind, say, why?
They're gonna say, why didn't you put that culvert in?
Exactly.
Go back and rip up that road and do that.
right, to claim that we would drain Long Lake because we are replacing.
Those homeowners.
Do we have a way to litigate with Eagle?
Oh, I'm sure there's always a way to litigate. It's how much you want to spend and what you will litigate. but there's always a way to litigate.
Well, like when we're trying to do the right thing and they won't let us.
Well,
But
there is public opinion.
I think it was more public opinion that affected their decision than anything.
And we are, and it's part of the record, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if something happens, it's on the record.
They can rec-
Eagle denied,
We're done. We're done.
we wanted to do it. Eagle, we sort of.
Next.
Yeah.
You know.
When the neighbors back up the two culverts with people who complained and their front yards are gone or their backyards are gone and their basements are flooded. It's on them.
It's on Eagle, but United.
When it fails, we can replace it and bang.
Right, and at that point, it will be like, we'll replace it because it has failed. The problem is that we'll have to tear up the road.
Our new road.
Yeah, on the road.
Potential.
Right, potential, exactly. The other question I had was on the town line project. It says an on-site meeting was held with utility stakeholders, several conflicts with the proposed box culvert. So again, dealing with Eagle, what's
We actually got
the,
the Eagle permit for that this week, so
what's the conflict?
they have a gas line that crosses there. In order to divert the stream to construct the box culvert, wouldn't have to drive sheeting through there for the stream, so they have to move their gas line out of the way of it.
So that was a fun surprise.
We have something to discuss about that too, recommendations from CRA coming up, as far as dealing with the gas company.
Okay.
So.
Can I go back to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Double barrel. Can we slip line those to?
We tried that too.
Okay.
They're concerned about the thickness of the culvert. Or the width of the culvert.
Finally, on the east-west corridor of Boardman River Crossing, Phase 2 BEA Garfield Township. Can someone explain to me what that is and what is the new proposal scope written for Harmon Road reconstruction?
That was left, that should have been taken out. It was left in the last meeting.
What is it?
It's that, what we discussed with.
That
Urban Road.
proposal that they gave us that we passed on.
Oh, that's the one. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. All right, does anyone else have any other items to discuss from the staff report? Okay, so we'll then go on to item E, which is commissioner updates. I'll start with Commissioner Thorne, if you have any update on any meeting you attended within the last month.
I met with Susan Wilcox Olson yesterday. We just talked about moving forward on some communications for the road commission.
Thank you, Commissioner Underwood. Any
Paul Bunyan was interesting, but I think Commissioner Gillen might have some comments on the discussions there. So we can defer to him.
Okay,
All right, so we had four of us there. We had Derek and Phil and Joe and I. There was a very, there's a spirited discussion about the efforts by the legislative people at the CRA to push forward a change in the funding formula for our roads. They would like to go to a per mile,
the CRA board.
the CRA. That's what they're pushing right now. They'd like to go to a per mile and eliminate the way we receive our funding right now through our taxes there at the pump and whatnot. And they say, oh, we have ways of protecting your privacy and this and that, and it's you know, and of course, Joe spoke eloquently. I spoke in the way that I speak, and you know, there was a comment by the CRA president who was there. You know, he's like, I've been to a lot of these meetings. This is about as excited as I've seen the group get. But we really we need to probably stand and as a group at least say stop, slow down, hold on a minute, because you know, I could sit down and maybe in a couple hours draft about at least a dozen or a couple of dozen reasons to not go in that direction. But it may not be a bad idea to do a you know, whereas, you know, it is the opinion of this or that, you know, the resolution kind of thing. Because
So can I ask you, if this, did the CRA poll their members, before taking?
We've been talking about it at Paul Bunyan for a couple of years now, and there has been some discussion, but I don't recall, at least not at Paul Bunyan, where they said, we said, hey, that's a great idea.
Right,
You know,
I was gonna
They heard push here
they did.
and they have a $5 million pilot project that didn't go through the proper subcommittees. Basically, whenever appropriations got put into a bill, that we didn't got, so they circumvented all of that.
who did, the CRA?
But they're in the legislature.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna assume they're in cahoots with each other. And not to sound arrogant, but give me 2 weeks and I can draft a whole new funding source, because I did the last two, so. Their blindness to
Yeah.
the negativity.
Their concern, of course, is, you know, the concern is electric vehicles. But no, let's not get right into the electric vehicles, because that would be too easy to solve with a checkbox on your utility bill. They really kind of played up the all of these hybrid vehicles. Toyota, for example, is never going to build another straight gas engine again, and they're not going to have any straight electric vehicles. And so they're using Toyota as an example of cars that get great gas mileage, and then the CAFE standards are going to raise them again. So we're just going to get, less dollars per mile traveled on the roads. And that's, of course, one of the reasons, because we're getting less money
It's because of the hybrid push?
because of the hybrid.
Okay.
And
I hear, I
cars that get,
understand that.
what they're saying is mostly it's CAFE standards are increasing. We're going to have a net, higher MPG. Okay.
Right,
Okay.
people
Now,
are buying less gas.
One of the
Absolutely.
handouts, of course, one of the handouts that they had, of course, was, it's full of the push. It was the hard push. And then the last page, it shows, per year, how our dollars are going. And in each year, of course, it goes down and down and down. And it's like, okay, but the amount of money is still going up.
Mhm.
See, the amount of money's been going up, but our buying power is going down and down and down. And I thought, and I raised this point. I said, this last sheet is irrelevant. What we need to do, if this is truly the problem, is we need to look at our how we address purchasing power. And I mentioned that there are monopolies that we're dealing with that are actually putting pressure to raise the prices up. And frankly, I've said this before to this board and previous boards, when we just get a great big pile of money, so let's give this state another $4 billion to spend on its roads. Is it, let's say it's $4 billion we're spending on it now, whatever it is, okay? Are we going to double our road fixing? Not a chance. You're just going to have a few more companies that are going to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a marginal increase because you're going to have a few more bodies on the roads fixing them.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
You have the bureaucratic theft of
Yeah.
most of that money. There's a lot of studies.
Got a whole new layer coming.
and frankly, and the other part of it, not just monopolies, is we need to look at Eagle. Eagle eats our lunch. Every time we have to deal with Eagle, and I'm just using them as an example, but there are others. Every time we have to deal with a regulatory agency or another branch of government, it costs us money. And we need to start putting pressure in those areas. That's where CRA needs to work their magic at.
Was there any actual data on projecting out? I'm not asking for hard numbers, but like percentage wise, what are we looking at for hybrids versus, ICE versus electric?
I think it all about a hybrid.
I'm a big fan of hybrid.
I am too.
I am a huge fan of hybrid vehicles. I
It's logical.
absolutely have purchased them, will purchase them. But if we are, as we have to project forward on funding mechanisms, we've always been having this discussion in the last year or two. Okay, electric mandates, like how are we going to look at capturing those lost MTF dollars from electric funds? But if we have projections forward where we have this large middle, it's always the hybrid in the middle. And if that's growing, are we looking, that's what CRA would do, is projecting, as far as how we can capture funds from that. So it's, that is interesting to me. I would like to have more facts or education on it if we're gonna like have a.
Well, I'd like to slow down and just take a look
Yeah.
at, because whenever you make a decision here, there's always, there's a lot of yin and yang.
It's
to-
unfunded mandates all the time
Yeah.
and, obviously unintended consequences.
That's it. That's the best.
And,
unintended.
if I don't want to have a reactivity to CRA to push for this per mile thing until I really know what that means.
Well,
That's all.
and the other thing that CRA is not doing, I mean, first of all, they did say the revenue's up. At the same time, we're saying we're losing revenue.
Yeah.
If you
Oh.
notice that conversation, it was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, we're losing buying.
But they will not address, MDOT doesn't have enough money to cover its federal share. My suspicion is MDOT's borrowed so much money that they have to pay back the bonds, so therefore they don't have. Nobody wants to talk about that because the governor skims that payment off the top Act 51 before it goes through the board.
Right.
She basically steals the money from the public.
Yep.
To pay for her projects.
I can understand somewhat that while revenues are up, the buying power has decreased because the cost of everything has
Yeah.
increased exponentially. If there's that the supply chain issues are there. So,
But
my understanding has all been throughout this, because this is not new. I several meetings ago, it was still an option that it would go that per mile charge and at the Paul Bunyan meeting, they presented the anticipated future funding gaps as we transition from ICE to EVs and hybrid. My understanding, and at that time, there was a lot of discussion how if we went to per mile charge, how it would disproportionately put the rural
Yeah.
counties in the
That
Paul
was
Bunyan
one of
region
our-
at a disadvantage. It will benefit the larger, more metropolitan downstate areas, but
Yeah.
our region would be disproportionately negatively
It
affected.
takes them a half hour to go 5 miles,
Yeah,
but we go 20 miles.
Right, and
For the same.
and I guess that's where I was coming from, is that I don't recall at any of the Paul Bunyan meetings, which is a regional entity, where this was ever being posed as a vote or as a resolution of support or anything.
I missed it.
In the CRA.
In the CRA thing,
It's
but-
in their legislative priority.
It's a priority. But this is my fourth year here. And since day one, I've been arguing with staff at CRA that you tax energy, you don't tax mileage. And they just won't listen to me.
So honestly, I mean, if no one here has any complaints, I'm about ready to start
I
writing,
would support it if you did it.
writing up some things just for the public.
Yeah, I just need like
Because
some better.
they gotta know what's
data.
coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow they wake up and they say, oh, look, the legislature's gonna pass this mileage thing. Everybody gets to fill out a card at the end of the year, or at the beginning of the year, or 5 times a year.
They still haven't figured out how you're gonna collect the money either.
Exactly.
I would suggest that if you're going to work on that project, maybe also try to see if the other road commissions that form the Paul Bunyan Council will sign on to it, because it has more power.
We had a couple there
Yeah.
very, very agreeable to our position.
Because I think that would have much more impetus, put more impetus on and get CRA's attention. But yeah, good discussion, Commissioner
Yeah.
Lehman.
Well, there was one more
Oh,
thing.
I'm
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
just on the gas line thing, there was a mention that we'll be very careful when we're permitting the gas companies, the utilities. They're trying to drop the liability on the road commissions right now. And we don't play that game.
In what way?
In their contracts for their permitting, they're trying to get the road commission to sign off and assume responsibility for their gas lines in our right of way. And
No.
apparently they've been trying to do this in a lot of areas. And now when we talk about these other locations, Town Line, for example, it's like, no. When we say you move your lines, and that's how we roll. You're in our right of way.
You move the lines and you pay.
And you pay for
You're
it.
getting the
Yeah,
revenue,
exactly.
you're getting the revenue off the
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that.
I only have, Dan and I went to Peninsula Township last week Townsend Townships, has appreciated our, staff improvements. How we are they feel we're more collaborative with them together. They have a working relationship with our staff now. But they are looking for results that we haven't
Mhm.
done anything about. We're in the nice talking phase, but we haven't got anything going on Bluff Road. Dan was asked, I think maybe he and Larry or Derek went out and looked at Forest Avenue, something they might want to approve from a seasonal. The residents are starting to chirp, they might want to change that from a seasonal road to a regular county maintained road.
It's about a 1 mile section road, has 30 houses on
Oh,
it. And they're all on the bay, they're very.
that's legit. I mean,
But it might be, they were there talking to
That makes
us about it.
and maybe they do a special assessment district
Right.
and get it paid and
Yeah.
be done with it and that way.
But I mean, it was a good discussion.
Do we have a timeline on appropriations from Senator Peters' office? Like, who's the contact on that? Is it Jennifer Graham or?
That's a good question because you had spoken about speaking to somebody
Yes,
locally on
I
their
did.
staff.
Yeah,
And did they say anything about it?
I didn't, you know what? I didn't follow through on a specific timeline. It was more of a reminder of the project. Here's the picture, here's what you did.
Maybe we need to regroup again and go back around with the.
I can reach out to her
I
again.
guess I was, being in the working group, we don't have much hierarchy, but we should have set maybe a timeline saying, okay, we've made these 2 requests now for a grant,
Okay,
for a loan.
yeah.
Maybe we need to get back together and,
And my concern is all the eggs in that basket too, like, appropriations is a fickle thing tied to a lot of just pork barrel nonsense. So if we just aren't in the right barrel, then even if it's a good project that the senator, supports. And we didn't really talk about Plan B. We had, our request for appropriations and that was it. So that could be, I can follow through with her again.
I'll call Jim about the FEMA things.
Yeah, I mean, our FEMA was our Plan B, actually,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah,
Kind of,
yeah.
yeah. But that's a good question.
Yeah, so I guess I'm maybe pointing the blame back at myself, but we should get going on this.
No, we
but
can do that.
I don't
And-
have an administrative time to kind of do this, but they are expecting us to, we've made nice and they're appreciating the fact that we're easier to talk to and we're.
So what can we ask, what kind of results they're, I mean, is that the one, what you were talking about, getting answers from Senator Peters' office and?
We had put in a request for congressional appropriations specifically for this district. And the request was big, but also making it clear that we were willing to take a portion of it, right? Like, it's not an all or nothing thing, but we actually put in a request for the large scale finish of the road. But we were willing to take anything that they, could put to it. In my opinion, just my opinion, that was not the holdup. The issue that we really had, the last time we met was several months ago, prior to any progress on the lawsuit with Old Mission. The wineries, I'm sorry, I should be clear about that.
I was gonna say, what?
No matter what we do, if appropriations doesn't fulfill an entire project, the road commission, no matter our best intentions, cannot pay for shoreline erosion works, right? We can't do that. And that is the biggest ask on this project. So if appropriations goes forward, we would want to see it go to the shoreline. Here's my issue. The odds are low that it is all funded. And unfortunately, Peninsula Township would have to assess a tax on all of their residents. Because the lawsuit is up in the air, the state of, the township could face bankruptcy over that lawsuit. And when the township faces bankruptcy, the state steps in and assesses the tax on behalf of them. So we have residents on Old Mission and in Peninsula Township that could already be facing an assessment for this lawsuit with Wineries of Old Mission. I should be clear. It has nothing.
The WOMP.
And then on top of it, the Peninsula Township Board would have to then ask or assess this Bluff Road thing because of the shoreline erosion issue, which has not, we don't own the bluff, we have nothing to do, but we also, even if we wanted to, are not legally able to do this. To me, that was more of the issue. So the Senator Peters, the congressional folks was like, it's our Hail Mary, like, it could fund the shoreline erosion project. The likelihood is low on all of that. And so I really feel like even if we got some money from Congress, we have this issue with the residents of Peninsula Township being assessed these mandatory taxes on the lawsuit with the wineries, and then of course Bluff Road. So I want to be cognizant of that and kind to their board and the position they're in and their residents. You know, most of those board members have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on with this lawsuit, but they take the arrows.
And I have a question. Can a township assess a tax to fix somebody's private property? Because the township doesn't own that bluff. That's owned by an individual.
It would be an assessment on the residents that would be part of that.
So they could tax everybody to fix.
It's not everybody.
It would be a
It's
special.
not everybody, it would be a special assessment.
They have to vote on it.
No, I don't think so.
There would have to be a public hearing.
Yeah, I don't think,
But
the board has to vote on it, but not the
That's-
residents.
Technically, that shoreline was owned by a private.
That is correct.
But they'd have to create a district for it.
They would.
Right,
Okay.
it would be a special assessment.
Yeah.
But the district might be Peninsula Township to
I,
benefit all.
Okay, true.
I guess my question was, you mentioned that that they're happy with the staff, but they were looking for, but they are asking for results. I guess that was what my question was, what results? And it seems like they wanted a follow-up on these
The Hail
different.
Mary.
Yeah, I guess that's what we.
I think they're putting their eggs in that
In other
basket.
words, that's related. Are we gonna look at if the Hail Mary doesn't
Yeah.
pass? A more radical solution, and that is to buy into the bluff and move that road over.
I didn't think we would, I didn't think, as a commissioner, I had no interest in
Okay.
doing that. I didn't,
Throw it out there.
but that's certainly.
But it's erratic, I mean,
They didn't like moving it. The Bluff Road belongs along the bluff. That's what they feel.
Okay, because the other thing you can do is you can go up through Mallard Drive and connect it in.
Well, yeah, that was.
That was a no.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't think
you can,
that was,
yeah.
I think that was.
I just want to be cognizant of the other things that are going on in the township, that's all. But I will absolutely follow through with Senator Peters' office and look, you know, the congressional fiscal year end is June 30th. Appropriations are listed before that. I know that they don't work much in summer break, so I will follow through on that.
Great. Great.
While we were on, Peninsula Township, they did mention that we still are moving forward with the Jewel Road, lawsuit. So it's still, it got denied when we went there for dismissal.
Yeah.
So it is still going on. Actually, I had emails.
Yeah, it got denied because the judge said that you have to do discovery.
So
Yes.
I did get an email today and they're setting dates for more mediation and they're setting court dates. So far, we've got dates in July, August, September, and October.
Yeah,
So they're moving forward.
all right. On to item S, are there any other matters outside of meeting updates that we have not discussed? Okay, great. Okay, item G, traffic signal maintenance and replacement discussion, and that would be Haley.
You get part somewhere.
Right. So basically, off of our last meeting, approved a couple signals and there's conversation about which ones should we replace, why do we replace them? Capsize said we would put something together for you, and here's Haley to.
I got roped into it again.
Yeah, sorry, I grabbed hold of Haley and
You're still looking like you did.
we put a great presentation together for it, so kind of just some direction.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to give a brief description of what we're up to, a little bit here. Blair, are you running for me?
I am.
Perfect. All right, so we have traffic signals because they're a vital component of our road network. They help provide direction and consistent rules for all road users. They assign the right of way to vehicles and pedestrians. And then they optimize traffic flow for high volume areas, allowing concurrent movements and preventing conflicting movements. The primary function of a traffic signal is moving traffic safely and as effectively as possible.
No?
Yes, thank you. No, you're good. All right, so traffic signal equipment. The traffic signals are comprised of a multitude of equipment. And it's everything from the foundations underground to the poles, signals in the air, cabinets on the ground, which is the inside one onto the right there. Broadband radios up in the air and the video detection, which can be 30+ feet high. Our highest one is 48 feet high.
Where is this cabinet at?
I believe that one is Barlow Lafreniere.
Oh,
That's a lot of equipment.
one of our,
So-
one of our newest.
So that is actually very standard.
Oh, really?
That actually has less in it than some others do.
But it's all capable of the scoot.
Yeah, they're all capable of the same things, but that has less equipment than some of the other ones we have.
Wow.
You can go to the next one, please. All right, I gotta read on my page, sorry. All right, so the amount and uniqueness of the signal equipment makes it important to have skilled crew members to perform maintenance and troubleshoot concerns when they arise. The traffic signals are, as you saw, very specialized field, which requires advanced knowledge in and skills in electrical, electronics, computers, communications, networking, construction techniques within all of those fields. Luckily, here at the GTCRC, we have a sign and signal department that's comprised of individuals that are constantly learning and working to increase the success of the signal network. And this crew commands the monitoring, investigating, troubleshooting, and maintenance of the signal network, along with assisting engineering with the planning and execution of projects and timing changes or pattern deployment. So the main function of our signal crew is the care of the signals through our maintenance. So there are 4 main types of signal maintenance. We have preventative, routine, heavy, and modernization. So our preventative maintenance is scheduled inspections at regular intervals. We usually get those done about every quarter for each intersection. So that includes a visual inspection of all of the conditions of the equipment, operational validation of all of our vehicle and pedestrian detection. So whether it's putting calls in the controller or not. We test the toggle switches in the cabinets. We test our uninterruptible power supplies for the cabinets that have them. And we also test our railroad preemption at the 2 locations we have. We also refill the stock with load switches that we may have used, any flashers or flash transfer relays. We like to keep a few on stock in the cabinet so we have them for easy deployment. We also replace defunct incandescent light bulbs, which is only in the older cabinets, as the new ones currently have LED lamps and heaters in them. We also have cabinet door air filters and things small like pedestrian push buttons that go bad that we can change easily on the fly. Anything larger than that, we make note of and we schedule it for routine maintenance. So our routine maintenance is primarily scheduled as needed. So it's usually repairing things we found in preventative maintenance or anything that the general public notifies us of. It's any of our investigations into the color concerns or issues that have been noticed during daily monitoring that we find of our signal equipment. This is when we start replacing pedestrian inserts or lamps or signal heads or even pedestrian poles. Most vehicular damaged equipment falls into this category for us. Most of this work is primarily handled by the GTCRC signal crew, but we also do side with some contractors occasionally, but we usually help at the same time. So the next step is heavy maintenance. These are almost always scheduled as projects in conjunction with the engineering department. Usually they include interruptions to traffic flow or services when the work is happening, thinking of things like replacement of conductors or pulling cables across the road. We also have several systemic projects that have been a really good example of this type of maintenance, where we did like our steel structural testing. We did an aerial inspection a couple of years back. We've done detection updates. We've had backplate or other scaled safety grants awarded for things like this. And most recently, our aerial flasher modernizations. This work is almost always completed by the contractors, but we do assist and sometimes supply materials. And our last main type of maintenance is a modernization. These are always a scheduled project that engineer helps us with. They are usually designed by contracted engineering firms, and it is a complete replacement of all signal equipment and structures. Everything from the poles, foundations, cabinets, conduits, and all aerial features. These projects we've been scheduling in pairs to help spread the life cycle of the signals, creating a small wave of maintenance modernizations versus a tsunami of modernizations every 15 to 20 years. This work is completed by contractors, and usually we have either the help of a construction tech to run the project for the estimates, or we assist on hand, and I'm usually the one building up the cabinets. Next slide, please. So why are we choosing modernizations? The scope of work that is required is too large or not fiscally responsible. If we're going out to try and do a heavy maintenance project, but half of the signal is falling apart, it's not fiscally responsible for us to put that wire up there if it's just going to come down in a year or two. Damaged equipment, where heavy maintenance repair would like beyond heavy maintenance repair, whether it was vehicular or natural. Signal equipment condition too degraded to repair, and age of signal equipment falls into this. I know you've heard it a few times in the past, but 20 years is typically referenced as the cited life cycle for a traffic signal. However, that is not always an accurate or all-encompassing number. We've also done one signal as of yet that was a modernization with an integrated road project. So that Silver Lake Road and South Airport was integrated. And we do have the Hammond and 3 Mile one coming up here in the future. Next, please. So the big question is, how are these modernizations chosen? So one of the first things we look at is overall signal condition, notably the structural condition and the wiring conditions. Types of maintenance that have been previously performed, and especially when we start seeing patterns in the faults and the degradation. Obviously, the age of the intersection and the components plays a key. Any kind of, like I said earlier, road projects or improvements. But overall function and operation of the signal equipment and any ability it has to stay where we're at or even expand as we continue to grow. And I've shown a graph here. This is one of the graphs of the work orders that we use through CityWorks. Just kind of showing the types of works and how work orders that we are doing and how they split out. Next slide, please. So our signal network, it consists of 26 traffic signals, 3 aerial flashers, and 11 solar or hardwired flashing beacon signs. In 2021, modernizations began in the design phases with actual installation dates in 2022. At that time, the Road Commission Board discussed making a goal to modernize 2 signals a year to begin bringing the system up to date in a reasonable timeline. Next, please. So this graph here shows our current approximated signal ages. The orange is where we're at currently. That red dotted line you see is 20 years. And the dark green behind it is the projection for 5 years if we were to do no additional modernizations at this time. If in 5 years we have no more modernizations done, we will only have 6 signals less than 20 years old. Next slide, please. So these pictures are some of the conditions that we have at some of our intersections. That first one there is showing a broken head at a bracket. The second one is showing a slightly damaged gooseneck. And that third one there just came off of South Airport and Veterans during the modernization. I also have brought with me some pieces parts because I like show and tell. So this is a gooseneck. This is what holds your traffic signals up. This is one of the ones that came off of Barlow and Lafreniere. I'm assuming that we can see the difference here.
Oh, that's just about broke all the way through.
Was that cut or broke?
It is broken. This wear right
But
here.
it's where though?
Yes, the wear that comes from that is the pin
Yeah.
that holds it onto the saddle bracket and how they swing. This pin right here came off of VETS. It actually came out of that signal head. So as we continue to move forward, these are the types of fixes we're making. These are the kinds of things that we're finding. And they're not things you see from the ground. They're not things that you see that may or may not be holding on by a hope and a dream.
But you'd think they'd have a design where you could actually just replace the plate or something, you know, but
So in this
Where-
situation, Haley, is it more feasible to have a signal setup where it's like a fixed signal plate on a steel, like a horizontal beam, rather than something that's swinging and causing this wear and tear?
So what you're describing is the mast arm, but there's
Okay.
also wear and tear on those as well.
Okay,
We actually, I don't think I have it in my slide, but when we did our aerial inspection, we did have one of those brackets that was cracked all the way through, which has since been replaced.
okay.
But they do go through the same wear and tear. I know that it has been previously stated that mast arms last longer, however, there are no actual studies to state that they do, but they do cost more money.
Way more money.
Way,
right?
yeah, right.
Yes.
I like,
And they're considerably harder to work on, truthfully, from a maintenance standpoint.
Yeah.
Could I go to the next slide, please?
Where you have to pay that.
Yes.
yeah, we just did that in North Mountain Lake Road and.
You still have to pay for the posts for the others, but the mast arms are more expensive.
Yeah.
So these are some wiring conditions we've had recently. As you can see, both goosenecks there, Larry, can you bump your, there, about there? So that was a little bit of a patch that was made afterwards. This one there to the right is actually at Cedar Run and North Long Lake, which was just approved for modernization. And this one here to the right, as you can see, we can occasionally bandage. However, unfortunately, Band-Aids only last for so long. And this is the state of where we're at currently. Well, that intersection right there is 23 years old.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, Larry, can I go to the next slide?
Yeah, UV is something else.
So here's another situation. There's some crispiness there. That cabinet there has been hit by a car. And our current standard is if they get hit by a car, we have replaced them. We had one happen at Silver Lake and Zimmerman 2 years ago, maybe. Was it 21 or 22? And I replaced, we did replace that cabinet, because it was hit by a car. The problem is, as you saw in that first picture, there are so many things that are soldered in that back panel, you never know what could potentially fail.
Yeah.
But this one was hit long before I started working on signals. And as you can see there at that socket on the far right, that has also argy sparked, and I was the one that did that. So that cabinet right there is not a healthy cabinet, but that is one that is currently running one of our more busy intersections. Next slide, please.
Fantastic.
I do want to address the elephant in the room as well.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk about South Airport at Barlow and Lafreniere. So the signs of failure actually started regularly there in January of 2019. With several visits for the same types of issues. Until in February 2020, I convinced my previous supervisor that we needed to rewire the phase 2. Then in July of 2021, we began having additional wiring issues that began with faults on 6 and 8. April 18th of 2022, we went into critical failure, which meant we physically could not make the light cycle. That signal remained in flash until April 26th when we can complete the modernization. So the backstory there was we were actually in the middle of the modernization. In fact, the poles and concrete work had all been done there. We were actually waiting on a couple pieces and a transformer to be moved. Can I see the next slide, please? And this is why it failed. Every one of those white lines you see is a crack in the wire. When I met with Wayne and Brad, when it went into critical failure, they asked if it was feasible to tape it and to patch it. And I believe my direct quote was we could patch 100 different locations and there would be 101. At that time, there was no feasible way other than a rewire, which, knowing that we were in the middle of modernization, was not fiscally responsible. You can see all the cracks there underneath the heads.
How old was this one?
I think it was 21 or 22. But you can see all the different cracks in the wire there. This green and red one down here in the bottom left actually soldered themselves together. Larry, could you go to the next screen, please? So this piece of equipment is called a conflict monitor. And I like to joke that it's the babysitter of the cabinet. What it does is it monitors what phases should be out, showing to the world, and it also monitors the voltage across the entire system. Those little black arrows you see there are all the places that it was reading voltage it shouldn't have been. And as you can see, every single one of them, which was all, they were all taken on the same day. Every single one of them shows different conflicts. So that is what caused that failure. Now, here's the important part. Actually, we'll do our last show and tell here. One other thing about wire. So we recently did the maintenance, heavy maintenance of our aerial flashers. We did one so far. These wires here came from Carlin and Nesson. And the only reason this is still red is because it was in the weatherhead and going down the pipe. And you can see here that this wire nut was burnt through. In fact, the electricians who took it down were shocked we didn't have a fire. So the way we get around that is we actually use cable that is rated for these applications. We don't just use THHN. This right here is what a current signal conductor looks like. And so this THHN.
So we were not using,
This is just straight up THHN. I don't know when Carlin was put in.
okay,
No idea.
that's just clear.
But when you modernize, you use.
It's all brand new.
And
Everything's up to snuff.
Yeah.
And we also are now compliant with that, as it was actually not compliant with the MUTCD standards.
yeah,
But there's good news with this. May I have the next slide, please? Moving forward, maintenance is our focus. In 2020, we've created the signal department here, and now there are 3 of us. We are, like, moving forward, our signals will last longer. These ones we've currently modernized because we now have them in maintenance routines, because we have done testing intervals on steel structures. We will be maintaining them properly throughout their entire life cycle, not just trying to throw Band-Aids on at the end. When we can utilize heavy maintenance projects, we'll also be able to prevent some of these catastrophic failures and then, like, offset modernizations in the future. And we can do things like what we had done at Lafreniere, where we can individually rewire a phase if that is the only culprit. These regular inspections and documentations of asset conditions, while we plan forward and updating these plans based on intersections, how they're handling things, what our work orders are showing, will help us. So our key focus moving forward is preventative over reactionary based maintenance. I don't like to play catch up. I like to make sure that we are good and we are moving forward. So on the next slide here, which maybe, oh, it's a little smaller than I thought it was going to be. However, we have a working Excel sheet. Derek and I have worked on it a little bit, showing some future heavy maintenance projects and modernizations planned out for the next couple of years. We've included things like the safety grant we have applied for the back plates, and also included the safety grant that for Long Lake and Herkner on there. But if you go down to the next one, we have planned out to about 20, this is 2027, but we do have rough estimates for 28 as well. And if you could go to the last one, please. So long story short, unfortunately, we can't go in the past and fix things. But when we build back, we can build better. And if we maintain what we're putting in, they're going to last a lot longer than these ones that we have currently that had pretty much next to no maintenance done on them.
But Rainier Barlow is okay now.
Yes, it's brand new. It's fully modernized.
And it's been working well.
Yes. Yep, the modernization replaces all the wire, all the, I just
That was
kind
a
of,
lot.
I've
we got
never
a lot,
eaten more
we got a lot of
ice cream in my
feedback
life.
from the
Yeah.
commissioners at the time.
it was nothing compared to the feedback I got. However, as this is my job and this is what I love and this is what I take pride in, I want to make sure that we're doing right by the public as well.
Are you doing any work with the city now yet or no?
No.
I know we were talking about that at one time, contracting our department up to, no.
I don't foresee that happening in the future.
Or to link up with Scoot, right? That was the thing
Yeah.
too.
So no Scoot network will ever link. MDOT will never link with us. We will never link with them. And the city will probably never have Scoot.
Okay.
So when you look at your schedule
Yeah,
on the
right.
spreadsheet,
Yeah.
and you see
They only have
what's
like
up for modernization now,
Yes,
are those the ones you're the most concerned about?
yes.
Okay, so you feel
So-
good about the prioritization?
Yes,
Okay.
so what I have typically done and what I have built up for the budget this year is my 2 recommendations. And then I have a summary of the work orders we've done and the severity of the work included in them.
Okay.
And then that way we'll have a little documentation as to why those two were chosen.
Cause it's roughly about like 1.1 million, I think, for two of them, isn't it?
I think we ended up about one.
Last time was about one.
Okay. And so that's just moving forward. Every year, we know in the budget, we're looking at about $1 million for, okay.
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
However,
But it makes
Plus inflation.
sense with, it makes sense with the layering of it.
the
Yeah.
big thing is like, so I look at what MDOT did, and I'm not saying what they did was wrong, but they did 21 signals in 1 year.
Right. So
That puts them
so
all
it's
to the
20
exact
years.
10 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one thing that we had talked about, I know Wayne was quite integral with that, and I actually, Phil had helped me quite a bit with it as well, but was ways that we could make a small continuous maintenance instead of like, hey, every 15 to 20 years, we're gonna be
Right.
making it all. Plus, like I said, moving forward, our Lola Franier, perfect example. It's 2 years old, but 4, 5, 6 years down the road, maybe 10 years down the road, wire starts to degrade. We could just rewire it.
Right.
You know, there are options as long as we are taking care of the equipment. The unfortunate part we've been left with right now is, as you've seen, we have a lot of equipment that
Yeah.
there's really no additional assistance for.
But we think 2 a year puts us in an okay position.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have under 30 signals, so within 15 years, we'd have them all modernized. And then maintaining them.
I have a question. Power failure.
Yes,
Last year, 2 years ago, we were encouraged to buy
Battery backups.
12.
Those mobile.
Generators,
yeah.
Mobile generators.
Yeah, mobile gen-
Is that a logical?
Did we
Well, that
buy
was
them?
during the
Can I
power
answer
plant. Did we
honestly?
buy them? Be honest. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, if it's
they were
bad-
purchased.
They were
Okay.
purchased, okay.
I was not consulted.
Oh, okay. Power
So,
is-
There are very specific ways that you can legally set up a generator without backfeeding. And I don't have that equipment at every location. Prime example, I believe it's Monday going into Tuesday, Hammond and Keystone was out.
Yeah.
I cannot put a generator on an unplanned outage,
Right.
because if I were to put it on there, I could potentially backfeed to the system.
Yep.
However, over that, they could turn the system back on, and I don't know.
Right. And you get zapped.
However, we have used those generators very successfully in conjunction with utility work,
Okay.
or in the upcoming modernization when they have to relocate our service. If I'm working with them, then we can cut and install the generators at their discretion without causing those
Now,
issues.
now, from an engineering standpoint, I understand, are the lights, are we pretty much full into LED now?
Yes,
Okay,
our last incandescents were at Silver Lake and South Airport.
Okay. and what is our power requirements? I mean, where we.
I can run a cabinet.
It
off
would
of
be
a
interesting,
plug in
it'd
the
be
wall.
interesting to know, yeah, okay. The reason I say that is because a battery backup,
We have battery backups at several locations.
okay,
In fact, on all of our modernizations, they're being added. So like, if you look at South Airport and Garfield
couple hours.
and South
maybe.
Airport and Veterans, we can do 12 hours.
Okay. awesome.
Typically 12 hours of standard cycling. But typically it then rests in flash to preserve battery life
Sure,
beyond that.
that's
So,
great, okay,
Prime example. Both of the Lake that Keystone had no power.
Yeah.
Keystone and Burnley has a battery backup because the Federal Highway Administration mandates that every railroad crossing
okay.
has a battery backup. That light was cycling.
Ah,
And the power went out around midnight and was restored around 11, and that light never quit cycling.
So those other pieces of equipment are being used.
When we bought those, I didn't feel that we were needing them, and I did talk with Haley, so out of the 12, I only prepped 6. The other 6 are still in boxes, never had fuel,
Okay.
never had oil in them, so we're gonna go to resell those.
Okay.
I think we'll get most of our money back out of those 6.
Good.
That never were touched.
Any other questions for Haley?
thank you.
Are the signals, I understand the signals are not part of our asset management plan. Is that correct? Or are they included in it?
They're on the back page.
They're the back end.
Weren't
They're part
they?
of, you know, it's one of those things that it's sort of like our fleet. Our fleet has their own asset management plan.
That's what I wondered, if you, as the signal department, has its own separate.
Yes,
asset
we've been,
management plan.
Larry and I have been working on some of that. And I know Phil and I have worked on some of the projects we've been delivered.
Okay, so there you're working on a plan that would address routine maintenance and kind of like establish that, allow you to establish that baseline and then work off that baseline.
Yeah,
So is that a work in progress or has that all been completed?
it's fairly in progress right
Okay.
now, I would say.
All right.
Remember, inventory, number one thing for an asset management plan.
Yes.
Condition assessment, what she's doing, and then that, you know, level of service, which you guys are established, and we're gonna spend $1 million a year on, you know, renewals and that kind of stuff. And then cyclical PMs, preventative maintenance.
Okay, great.
So we're right there. We don't have a
We're
little
close, it's just not written
beautiful
down.
form and all that stuff.
I'm surprised that we all didn't already have that considering the signal network that we have, but it's good that we.
Truthfully, I came here in November of 19 and there was absolutely nothing regarding signals.
Okay.
So anything we have built up in the last 4 years pretty rapidly.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that we are working on that.
Are we adding
No
any traffic
maintenance, it's
signals?
Why we're at, right?
What's that?
Are we adding any traffic signals? Like we have 26 or, I mean, is there some, like in a project we have on
New
the,
roads, no.
are we adding any additional traffic signals?
Not currently.
Okay,
What's the process if there's an unsignaled intersection how do we go about?
So this is gonna be more of an engineering question. So I will let him talk to that.
Quick answer is the Michigan Main Uniform Traffic Control Devices sets warrants based on volume, crash history, pedestrian counts, all railroad crossings, proximity to other signals, things of that nature. So the first step would be to get counts and to see what it means those thresholds for the volumes.
Because I know we have talked about that, what's that one intersection?
we're talking about the one in East Bay. or
In East
whatever.
Bay, Supply and
3 mile.
3 Mile
Yeah.
and Potter, right?
Yeah, but that would involve building out the road too.
No,
Yeah, very
I'm using it as an
Yeah.
example. So if we were to, for example, and because there have been discussion at the board level about possibly
Yeah.
as an option installing a signal. So if that was to be considered, it would start with a traffic count and then go from there to where? What would be the next step?
Just see if it warrants the signal and what you'd have to do to warrant, or what you'd have to do to actually build that.
Is it step like maybe a flasher? Then a signal or, you know, just go to a signal, right?
No, I mean, not typically. Usually, I mean, if it be set volume warrant, you kind of look at it and see how it how it operates.
Okay.
And for two, you know, the crash history you've had there.
Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job, Haley.
And just so you know, Haley is she's also in charge of our signs as well. And then she helps out operations with temporary setting up temporary traffic control for operations.
I don't like sitting down.
I saw the recycling. Does that mean we, strip them or read?
So we
Sign them or-
don't. However, Michigan State Industries uses the prison system
Okay.
and they do it. The last quote we got was 47% the cost of the exact same things buying brand new.
Well, yeah.
So we are,
License plates, they're making signs.
Why not?
so the other advantage to that is they deliver and pick up. So when they deliver our order, they'll pick up our next recycling order and we'll take it ourselves, so the freight is free.
They give us credit for the aluminum.
Correct.
Nice.
So we got a lot going on there.
That's everything Haley's doing is she's taking charge here and she's also training. And we're actually gonna start kind of a hub for the local area and she's putting on some classes here.
Yes, I'm a moderator with the International Municipal Signal Association, and we are hosting a Signals Level 1 class in June.
Here,
Great. Fantastic. Thank you.
pretty excited.
Good job. Yeah.
That is exciting.
Moving on, item H, Form 2044 engineering reimbursement, that's on page 46 of your packet.
Approve the former approve, they have the manager request the form, I don't know. It's the $10,000. I mean, this is to make sure that we have the $10,000 for our engineers.
So Commissioner Gilman, I believe, is making a motion
Yes.
to
I'll second that.
allow the chair.
Allow the chair.
The member and the clerk to sign the engineering reimbursement in the amount of $10,000. And Commissioner Underwood supported it. Is there any discussion on this motion? If not, roll call, please.
Underwood.
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Horn,
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
Chasm.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes. Next item, Zoo Road project. And that is on page 47. Dan, do you want to, I mean, it's self-explanatory. There's a recommendation for,
Yeah, I think everybody's aware. I've had several conversations. Zoo Road was kind of been an ongoing issue here for a while. We've got several staff hours and meetings involved in this. We finally came up with something that I think Grant Township is good with and that the road commission can live with. So I just recommend to move forward with that project.
what's the length of Zoo Road that would be part of this crushing?
First off, 633 is 1,000 feet, and then we're moving up further in that.
In total, it's about 3,800 feet. The first segment's 1,000.
3,800 feet.
It's broke up into two segments, the two worst segments.
And is that, so it's phased?
It'll be all at the same time.
So why is it broken up in two segments?
The section in between is in decent condition.
I see.
So we're doing the worst condition. There's a section that we think we can probably do a chip seal.
Maybe a wet chip board.
Maybe next year and
How much are they how much is Steel Grant Township contributing?
they're doing the ARPA funds, $257,633, I think.
So out of the 447, 257 is theirs. Thank you.
Okay,
I make a motion, we approve the Bolon excavating bid for Zoo Road in the amount of 447, 614.55, more or less.
we have a motion for Commissioner Lehman to approve the bid. We have support from Commissioner Gilman. Any further discussion before we vote?
I'm just gonna vote no because I don't support using Molon as a contractor.
All right, with that, roll call, please.
Gilman,
Yes.
Corn,
No.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Chasm.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is South Long Lake Road, West Long Lake Road project, and that is on page 53 of your package. There is only one bidder. Dan, do you want to give a brief summary description
You need a reminder.
of what this project is?
Derek's probably gonna have to help me with this one, but this one I believe started with the townships.
Yeah, I was talking around them, posted on a township priority since like 2016. Getting that hill cut at the intersection of South Long Lake and West Long Lake Road. On South Long Lake Road, there's quite a, there's a crest vertical.
Can you tell me what's there, like a building or a business or
There's houses.
There's just houses,
There's
okay.
not really there.
there's 4 Long Lake roads and I get
There's yeah,
confused.
T intersection. that
It's
come off.
Close to Interlochen, people. close
Oh,
to
that
Interlochen.
side, okay.
Yeah, that part of the.
Okay, okay.
And it's to, I think you are lowering the vertical.
Yeah, on
grass.
South Long Lake we are, and
Yeah.
we're also a mile and a half of crushing shape on West Long Lake.
Yeah, I know that when we went to Long Lake Township and Green Lake Township, when we announced the project, it was very well received by the people in attendance because apparently that crest creates a site hazard.
Yeah.
So people are very happy that we are undertaking that. project.
West Long Lake is a local road or
They're both primaries.
both primaries?
All right. So there is staff is recommending that we approve the bid for Elmer's Crane and Dozers. So do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve Elmer's Crane and Dozer for the South Long Lake Road, West Long Lake Road project in the amount of $1,639,740.59 more or less.
A motion from Commissioner Corn and the support. Support from Commissioner Underwood. Any discussion?
What was the engineer's estimate?
1.3.
No, 1.1.
1,545,000.
Well, original, we have budgeted, right, Phil?
Yeah, when I did the budget last year, there was an original estimate of 1.1, and then there was a estimate in Merle in December that I used that was $1,303,000. And then I think when they finally got all the quantities together before it went to bid, it was $1.5 million.
Now this is $1.6 million. So a year ago, we thought this was gonna be 1.1 million. Our best
When
estimate.
we did budget, we did
Budget.
1.3.
I have no idea how that was developed.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been a windshield. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
And I guess, my only question is there something specific about this project that only resulted in one bidder, or is it the type of project?
I don't know if
Is
it's a combination of the earthwork and the asphalt work.
Yeah, I also contacted Pan Dolan. They have a plant in Elmira, and he's like, on that side of the county, we have a tough time getting our trucks through town. And wouldn't be cost effective for us to do that.
Okay.
He said, keep in mind when we go to Whitewater, Acme, or Fight Lake.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Corn,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Chasm.
Yes.
One follow-up with that, we were trying to get town line done this year. We set some funding aside. We're probably gonna pull money from that project to move over, so we're gonna have to find additional funding for town line, is what we're thinking right now.
We are gonna pull funding from town line to fund this.
I'll probably be doing another budget amendment.
This
We'll do
project.
the budget, man, but our initial thought, just so everybody's aware, I know I've been pushing that, really hoping to get that project
Yeah.
in. That's probably the initial place we'll look for the funding.
So if we put a bike path next to it, well, East Bay give us $1 million.
Right?
Next item is bridge inspection proposal. It's on page 58 of the packet. Dan, do you, or whoever wants to give a brief description of what this?
Yeah, these are yearly bridge inspections. We have 2 bridges, we inspect annually, and the rest we inspect biannually. 25 structures in total. And this will be for 24 and 25 bridge inspections.
Motion to approve OHM.
Okay, there's a motion from Commissioner Allen to approve the proposal for $14,000 more or less, support from Commissioner Gilman. Any discussion? Was OHM the only one? Is this the type of project that gets put out for bid, or is it one of those exempt?
No, it's one of our professional services.
It's exempt from,
Yes.
okay, so we automatically go to OHM because
And
they've done it.
they've done ours in the past and got good results.
They have good history of, for the past years, but they've been awarded the bid the last few times.
Okay,
So
roll call, please.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Corn,
Yes.
Chasm.
Yes. Passes. Next item is professional legal services. Starts on page 62 of your packet, and you will see that there are 3 proposals submitted by 3 law firms. Penn Esperance, Foster Swift and Clark Hill, and you also have their hourly rates, and I believe staff is recommending that we approve the hiring of Penn Esperance as legal counsel for the road commission.
Any particular?
So the main reason when we started to look at it was their experience. So Bill Henn is actually the one who takes care of most of our issues for us in the CRA. So he has the insurance pool, which covers most of the other road commissions within the state. Additionally, on top of that, he has 47 county road commissions where he's their legal counsel for. So he is a little more, but he does have associates and paralegals that he can put a lot of that work on. But also just as an experience with the road commissions, I think he can bring a large value to us. And hopefully he doesn't have as many billable hours because he might already know the answer to a lot of these issues, and he probably best knows how to represent us.
Heider, do you want to say something about it?
I will, but I wanna see what.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer honestly
Yeah.
to our legal expert on this one. But I just do wonder if somebody who does represent other road commissions who at times we may have a disagreement through the CRA. We may not want the same. You want, the same ends to come from certain things. For example, Does he at all, have any conflict in some of those situations where we have to approach a problem differently? I mean, be it another road commission or disagreements within our CRA. I mean, I'm just trying to think as a potential outside the box. I understand, we all get along, but do you think there might be any issues there?
Yeah, there clearly is a lot of potential there because I can tell you that I, in my professional capacity, run into a similar issue because of the amount of county work we do. It's kind of a similar thing where 9 out of 10 times counties are not suing each other, but that one time when you do sue each other, then you have to declare that conflict, and depending upon the nature of the conflict, you either request a waiver from both your clients,
Recuse yourself from that.
or you recuse yourself. I can't say that doesn't happen as often, but it could occur. 47 road commissions.
Higher likelihood.
Yeah, there's a higher likelihood, absolutely. I don't know how often we will be getting into.
But in the last 20 years, we probably got into no conflict.
No, and that's the thing. Right,
No,
exactly.
no.
We don't, and I think that I am surprised that apparently that this is the discounted McChrysip rate at $3.20 an hour.
Yes. Yeah, the rate is pretty, I mean.
The rate is
good.
what's kind of,
$50 an hour over there.
I'll say yes if this is the motion, but I'm just,
I will say this, that comparing that with the other two firms, while the other two firms are well-known firms, they are larger firms, they have a lot of municipal experience as well. The difference is the type of municipal experience. One law firm predominantly has bond counsel experience. The other law firm has a lot of, when it comes to road commissions, their primary experience has been in the area of eminent domain. So when you're looking at the run-of-the-mill general counsel road commission experience, that is Henn Lesperance is the firm that stands out. So, and they also have a labor practice. So right now we are using different labor counsel. We could then use the same firm for both our general road law and labor union negotiations and all that as well.
When I asked Dan if we could speak to him about the Peninsula Township, asked about the road ends, he called us back promptly. He spoke with a clear understanding and authority, didn't waste a lot of time on it. And I was fairly impressed. I don't think our legal, we haven't spent that much on this stuff historically. So even if we spend an extra $50 an hour, and he does it fairly promptly, and we try not to get into these entanglements, right? I mean, so I would like to make a motion to accept him unless you tell us otherwise.
No, I mean, I'll support that motion.
Is there a length on this? It's 5 year, 3 year?
No, they're usually legal counsel contracts that are, well, you don't want an attorney that you don't want to work with, be locked in for a 3-year contract.
But I asked the first year, Jason, if you remember when you were chairperson, I asked if we were reviewing other things in 2020. And I asked if we were busy with other things, and 3 years later or and a half, we're doing this, and I appreciate that. And it'll probably be 3 to 5 years before we think about something again.
Yeah, ideally you want to review it 3 to 5 years, but there will be a contract, but it's not by term.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just contract will just set forth the rates and every the obligations, but you don't have a term.
I'll second his motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Lehman to accept Henn Lesperance's proposal as legal counsel, support by Commissioner Underwood. Any further discussion before we vote? If not, roll call, please.
Underwood.
Yes.
Gilman.
yes.
Horn.
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
Chasm.
Yes. passes.
This is a fun one.
All right. Next item is millage renewal verbiage discussion. It is, well, it's labeled as a discussion, but I believe staff is also requesting the board to finalize and approve the millage renewal language. Do we know when we have to have this to the County Board of Commissioners?
November 5th.
Here's,
Wait,
No. August 5th.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify this. What are we limited to do with the village money?
There's no new construction is my main thing. I know.
I think it's set for preservation type projects.
Okay, so preservation and for streets and not necessarily primary roads.
There's no restriction on.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
So that, all right. The only other problem that I have with the thing is I'd like it to say something different, but I'm gonna get outvoted on this one. It says by law, tax increment revenues from this millage will be distributed to governmental units within Grand Traverse County that are entitled to receive a portion of this millage, which is their blah, 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 you know, all the, I'd like it to say by law, tax increment revenues from this millage will be stolen by governmental units within Grand Traverse County that are entitled, that are entitled to receive. That's all.
Commissioner Gilman, you are very astute in your observation that you would be outvoted on that. But thank you for you know, stating.
I'm okay with the language.
I appreciate the language, but I also appreciate the fact that the city voters overwhelmingly at I believe, a much greater rate than the other townships support this.
Oh, always, yeah.
And they have a substantial tax burden. And they're willing to support this in a greater number than many of the other townships where we spend a lot of money. So I appreciate the city's residents supporting
If you're
their own.
Peninsula Township right now, you're going, geez, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, this other stuff coming down the pipe.
And those entities have put money into their new bridges and their new. So they are actually spending it on the roadway.
And to your point, with regards to the tax increment, at least as it stands with the city of Traverse City, that tax increment may actually go away if the referendum vote in November goes.
At least that particular.
That is the biggest chunk there, and if that, whatever that referendum is on the ballot.
It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
That could do away with that tip. Any other discussion? Any other questions?
No new construction. I believe that's what it says. They're not supposed to be new construction.
And we are not,
Building new road.
yeah, we don't have any plans to build.
I'll make the motion. We approve this language.
Okay, there is a motion by Commissioner Gilman to approve the millage renewal language as presented. Do I have support?
I'm struggling with this one, I'm sorry.
I'll support it just for purposes of having deliberation.
Yeah, well,
I'll support the motion only for the purpose of having deliberation, so.
I'm not
Discussion.
tied to it, but I think I want to hear what Lisa has to
Yeah.
say about it. You got something wrong with it.
Discussion.
The overall concept I have a problem with. I think that's my struggle.
You mean the millage?
Yeah, I mean, I think our millage is well used.
Yeah.
I think that it is done with consciousness of where it goes. And I think it's a good thing in general, because we need to supplement the MTF. I understand that. Like, I get all of it, but I'm just so sick of paying more money for everything. I'm sorry. Like, I'm just so fatigued. Like, how many millages are going to be on this ballot? And I'm struggling with it. The one thing I wanted to bring up that may or may not be tied to this, but something that's important to me, Hyder and I mentioned it, or I mentioned it, whatever, we had a conversation. I think it was either of you or Alan, so please help me remember. I just want to really make a commitment to people that if they entrust us with this and vote for this, that we don't do any new projects for the next year or two, and that we really like go all out improving roads all over the county. And then I would feel better about it rather than any big project. Because this is the kind of money that we can use for that.
I have to ask a clarification
Yeah.
question. What do you mean by no new project?
Well, there's ones that are
Sure,
already,
sure,
there's
it's going
ones
to-
that are already committed. Right, that we have already on the.
What do you consider a new project?
Hyder, we talked about this at committee. Can you help me out on what we had discussed?
So I guess to me, let me ask you this, so we have been talking about Town Line Road. Would you consider the Town Line Road as a new project?
That's, we've already got engineering into it.
Well, I understand that, but I'm trying to get a definition as to what kind.
I'm not talking about things we've already set on the books, but I'm saying we need a year or two where we just really take the money and fix. some of
Let me
these
give you
roads.
another example, Frankie Road. We have, it's not on the books, but we have talked about it with TCAPs and internally as well about that potentially being a project next year, maybe in 2026. And that's to redo Frankie Road. It's to, I don't think we're increasing any, adding any
That's a good
lanes
milling
to it.
project.
But it's almost to redo the road,
Yeah.
to put some more improvements on it. Is that a new project?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I guess I'm just trying to take this money and spread it to the most places. So no, that would not fit my definition.
Okay, so my definition of a new project is, for example, and at the risk of bringing this up again at a public meeting, the discussion we have had about installing a roundabout at some place,
Yeah.
to me, that's a new.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
That's
That's a
don't
new
want to do
project.
anything like
Yeah.
that.
That to me is a new project or obviously building a new road or doing something like that. Most likely a roundabout is the thing that comes to mind because we seem to be installing them at the rate of almost one or two a year. And so, I agree with you that I want to focus on our existing infrastructure. I think that we have been a little too cavalier about building new things, shiny things in our county at the expense of it. I hate to use the word, but in terms of neglecting the existing infrastructure we have and letting it deteriorate rather than doing repaving projects or installing a crosswalk or some, things like that, which just improves the infrastructure. So I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of focusing on the existing roads and existing infrastructure we have. We had a presentation, although this doesn't apply obviously to this millage, but we had I agree with you on that. And I'm in favor of, at least for the next year or two, focusing on that and not focusing on how we can put a new road through here or put another roundabout or build a bypass of some sort now.
A couple of years ago, we had this discussion about the village and everything. Part of that discussion, of course, was this proposal for $63,000 for an education campaign and we objected. At least a couple of us objected. That's nuts. $63,000 can go a long ways towards a road project or a fix or an intersection, for crying out loud, that you break your wheels every time you hit that intersection. And we got that one down to $9,000. And and one of the only reasons for that is because, the people who were going to print our information were pretty much had already done the work. But I am there with you.
I'm struggling to find the right
Listen,
words.
No, understand something. I am there with you. And I think that, and in that year, we actually didn't expect to win, for example, on the peninsula, but we still won at 65%. That was 2020.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
I from a political science. point of view,
So in any event, I'm glad this year we're not,
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to spend money to just, I don't like government spending money to tell you how good it is
I
at
think,
all.
I think what I'm trying to say, I'm just having a hard time because like personally, I'm just sick of paying more for everything and it's like, just one more millage, but
It
I think
ends
what
up-
I'm trying to say is I think our staff is just doing such a great job communicating with people and people are feeling
that's fine.
better about communicating with us. And there are consistently the same complaints about the same roads over and over and over again. And what I'm trying to say is I hear you. Like, we don't sit up here in a bubble. We hear you. Every time I go to the Meyer and I drive on Frankie Road, I'm like, who's in charge of this stuff? And I'm like, wait a minute. But we hear you. And what I want to know is that this money that we're collecting from people, which is an extra tax, but if they don't pay it, we take their house. So that's some pretty serious stuff. This extra tax that we're asking is going to be used for the things that are so obvious. I don't think we should do anything new until Frankie Road doesn't look like a third world country behind it. A town line road, Barney Road, that's another one. I mean, we all know the same ones that people talk about all the time. And I want them to know that we hear them and we want to make a commitment to use this money best for that.
But may I remind you that the purpose of this millage is exclusively for repair and improvement. So it's not, we cannot legally use these village monies for any new construction.
I understand that. Number one, most people don't know that. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Wow.
When you drive on a bad road every single day to work or to school or to your house, that's what you think about. And then here we are asking for another tax. So I just want to let people know that this isn't taken lightly. It is a lot of money and it adds to people's tax bills. And that we are making a commitment to really try to spread money in repairs and maintenance as best as possible. I'm not dumb. I know if this doesn't pass, we lose $6.5 million towards repairs and maintenance of our existing infrastructure. Of course, I want to see those funds, but I want to do it in not a flippant way where we know that we hear you and we want to use it as best as we can. And I struggle with that because sometimes I see things just thrown on, like here, we're to throw on another millage, throw on another millage. But this is important money that can be used for repairs and maintenance, and making sure people know what we use it for is important. I want to support it. I don't want to lose 6.5 million, but I just.
If you think Frankie Road's bad now.
Exactly.
I mean,
I'm
Right.
not supporting
Right,
it.
exactly.
you know, at some point, we could
Yeah.
say, you know, our primary roads. I wanted to just establish are acceptable. We said.
We've been
We're,
talking about that.
we're above this line
Yeah.
and a disproportionate share has went to our primary road
Right.
system just to make them barely crack the line. Am I saying that incorrectly?
I think we're just right below it right now, what the goal was of 80%.
Okay, we're right below there. We could say, we're gonna spend the millage on local roads, and that's what we're gonna do for a while. But the primary roads
Right.
are fairly good enough. So as much as I would like to pick and choose projects, I like our asset management plan. I think the engineering department, Larry, you're not really engineering now, you're right at the end. I think they have made pretty wise choices.
Yeah.
And with our input from the public, that's what we're supposed to do. Hey, this is important to the public as commissioners. When our neighbors all tell us, hey, that's really a bad road, we have to come here and report that we have to talk about that individually. But I don't see how we could survive without the millage.
We have to have it.
And
We have to have it.
Immediately crumble.
I just want to make sure people know that we are listening, that this isn't carte blanche. It isn't like, well, of course they're going to pass the millage and of course we're doing this. We hear them and it matters. And
you might say you'd like to direct the staff to do some more simple project that get us the most bucks for the mile rather than just as we just tilt a little bit, do the simplest things to get the most roads repaved. But I think
They do a good job.
this was not about the staff.
Commissioner, you-
This was
I
not
got
about
a
the
couple
staff.
things I'm gonna say here. First of all, Frankie Road.
Yeah.
I'm tired of people talking about Frankie Road. this agency has to clean up the mess that Traverse City Public Schools created. They go out, they build a school where they shouldn't. They're not required to do what any other developer's required to do. If that was one of your buildings.
Traffic study.
Done, would have been a traffic study, they would have been required to fix
I'm
the
up there.
road. And so now we have to figure out how we're gonna spend millions of dollars to fix Traverse City Public Schools problem. That's one.
Yeah.
So I want the public to know,
Coming up.
Frankie Road is eventually gonna get fixed. We're gonna figure out a way to do it. We are getting TCAP's ass out of the slate. They still didn't put the driveway in like our engineer asked them to do. So, I mean, what are you gonna do? Right, no.
What was the second? bit?
No. What funds paid for the roundabout at Potter and Garfield? We had a safety
I
grant.
think there was a $600,000.
We had a safety grant,
safety
but was
grant.
that 51 money? Was that local money? Was that, do we know?
Yeah, I'm not sure how the state had funded that, through their source of.
Oh, you're talking about. No, our part.
Our part would be Act 51.
Our portion came through the MTF.
Through the
Okay,
MTF.
right. So is that for most of the roundabouts, the Keystone, was that the kind of?
We
same
didn't
thing,
use any
Keystone?
millage money, any of the rate.
All right, so most people.
Or any of the signal.
But
Nobody
look,
understands
it's, I know, it's still, they also understand that we can only spend so much money on a local road. They don't understand.
No,
The different levels of
actually,
road.
that's not, I've been told that's not true. We can determine what's in the best interest of the road commission and
But
use
then
Act
you're gonna do the-
51 on local roads
But
at
I,
any portion.
I get beat up by people on.
If we
on dirt
decide
roads.
that's in the best.
Hold on. Let's not talk over each other. Okay.
I get beat up on people from dirt roads that say, I pay my millage, but you're never gonna fix my road.
Right.
And then, so we have to prioritize which roads are gonna get fixed.
We do, but we have an asset management plan for that, right?
When I talk about existing infrastructure and not focusing on new construction, I'm obviously the millage money is limited to what we can do. We can't fund new construction. I'm talking about using the Act 51 money also in conjunction with
That's
the
what I'm
millage
trying
money.
to say.
I don't want to use Act 51 money on new shiny projects if our existing infrastructure is crumbling. And I think that's the issue. That's what the public is seeing. The public doesn't draw a distinction between millage and MTF. They don't know what Act 51 money is.
As far as they're concerned,
Yeah,
it's all fungible.
it's all- they're all
I
they're
pay my
concerned
millage,
is
fix
like,
my road.
yeah,
There's
it's,
another
they're,
tax
they,
on my
they're
house.
not thinking about Act 51. It's this bucket, it's that bucket. They're thinking about, I pay my taxes, fix my road. And it's a legitimate ask. And so I'm talking about using MTF monies in conjunction with millage monies to focus on existing roads. And Frankie Road, I understand your displeasure with TCAS, but Frankie Road is also a very well-traveled road as a detour to connect to US 31. So it was in bad condition even before TCAS built that school. It's in terrible condition. And it has Meyer traffic. So Great Hope Lodge is at the end. There's a strip mall there with the shops in there. Barney Road, we got,
Barney Road.
that is terrible.
Yeah.
Barney Road, So when I'm talking about those types of, when I'm talking about existing infrastructure, I'm talking about using all our funds. Act 51 and millage. And pooling them together to improve this existing.
Could you, for my benefit, give me an example of a project that was too glamorous that we've done in the past few years? I'm just asking because I know of one that I thought because I voted no, but.
No, I don't.
Yes,
So I don't know, because here's the thing, since I have been on the board, the only project that had already been approved was the Garfield Potter Roundabout, and to me, based upon the number of crashes that were happening there and anything, that seemed like whichever board previous to by me being appointed approved that, did that properly. I am more talking about, to be honest with you, about the discussions we have had at this board about building a roundabout at Hartman Road, doing all those things. I don't want to, I know that some members on this board have said, well, it's on pause. We have not given it up. As far as I'm concerned, it's gonna be a no vote for me anytime it comes up before the board, as long as I'm on the board. It's not on pause as far as I'm concerned. We have a lot more projects to do than to build a roundabout on Hartman Road and figure out how to reconfigure all things and connect to McRae and take over IRS building and things of that nature. That's where I'm coming.
Okay,
What about the peanut about?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if the peanut is.
I mean, we've already moved forward. I mean, we have an investment already in place. We're also working on the other aspects of it. I mean, would we consider that a new and shiny project? Or, just would it be one of those things that you classify as I mean, look, at some point, we have to move forward. And our preservation, our asset management plan is gradually working aspects of our road system into an improved state. Clearly, if we don't get the millage, it makes that hard.
No, absolutely we want the millage.
But the reality is the millage and true to whatever the public might think is that it makes it easier for us to manage some of those other things that allows us to be safer and more efficient in the future.
Yeah.
Because if you look at straight road along Lake, one way or another, the traffic is not decreasing every.
No,
But that
Is capacity increase?
it's capacity.
New construction or is that maintenance?
So what I'm talking about is a millage for 5 years. Is that what we're talking about?
4.
4 years. And we have projects that are planned and happening. I absolutely support the staff, their decisions on the asset management plan, everything. But none of that happens if people don't vote yes in November. And if the people that are voting yes are driving on third world country roads every day, that is their view of what we're doing. It doesn't in any way imply that there is mismanagement of the funds or not good design or nothing. What I'm trying to say is we need to do a better job. We, the board, not our staff. We need to do a better job of listening and making sure people are heard and translating that into decisions that we make. I'm not trying to change something that's on the board for next year or whatever, but we need to do a better job of listening.
I think we are listening.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of important projects that should be
Yeah.
done, and we don't have enough money.
We don't have enough
So
money.
we are gonna pick and choose.
Right. And to your point on the peanut roundabout, that is one of the projects that has already been in the works. We
Yeah.
have applied for a safety
We're not
grant.
giving the brakes on it.
And we are also, that goes directly to public safety.
And I agree with you, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, for now, I mean,
Right, to be
probably
honest,
not my turn.
yeah.
We can't.
Yeah. The project that came to mind to me when I made that statement about new shiny things was that Hartman Road.
Yeah, I thought that might.
And that is the one. The other projects, we have been very deliberate about how to fund this project. We have I think all the members on this board are very conservative when it comes to how we are spending our money, and which is a good thing. I just think that we are hearing more and more from members of the public on local roads that are in bad shape and they have not been worked on for a long time. And even on the map that we had, that Barney Road is in red.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
failing road. And what are we doing?
I can tell you this, though. I mean, those complaints that you're hearing about the local roads, we were hearing them in 2017. We were here, the road commission was hearing them prior to that. There is always going to be a certain level of dissatisfaction. And as I said several years ago, the most important road is that one in front of your house. And so for anybody who lives on a crappy road,
Yeah.
we're going to hear from them. And unfortunately, and to Joe's point about the schools, at least, there, sometimes though, you have to speak the truth to what the causality is, Now, on the other hand, Frankie Road, I don't remember Frankie Road ever being a good road.
Right.
No,
I mean,
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
But
no.
It's a junk road.
But just the same, I think the plan as Alan's, the asset management plan has been improving. I mean, we're seeing an uptick on all levels, even the local roads. We've been getting some SADs that have helped, of course, that helps, but we are improving, and yes, we are getting to the point, and we've talked about this for the last 3 years now. We're getting to the point where the primary roads are approaching and hopefully surpassing our goal, and then we start really concentrating on those other areas. I don't mind a statement saying, well, we need to concentrate everything on our local roads. But the reality is we need to follow the plan that's gotten us this far. I mean, just so that all the work that we've done to try to manage outcomes just doesn't get thrown away.
I'm not trying to uproot the plan. What I'm saying is we just have to acknowledge the consistent roads that are talked about. If we never mention the word Barney or Frankie or Town Line, it's as if we aren't hearing all the people that are talking about it.
No, Town Line, why would we, Town Line really doesn't serve many people. We want to fix it, what, for bypass?
Yeah.
So
I would
maybe
assume
take
it's
$2 million and throw into something else.
I would assume it's a cut for.
Pulverize it back to dirt and call it good.
I don't think we should have a road like Barney, Town Line, or Frankie in our system. I think.
But
I
the people on Scout Camp Road are gonna tell you different, so. I mean.
I just don't.
All right, I think, yeah, we can go on and on about, the bottom line is that we need this millage. Without the funds in this millage, we would be able, our primary roads would deteriorate.
We all know
And yeah,
We all know that.
yeah, and so I'm gonna call for a roll call vote on this. We already had a motion, right, from
Me and you seconded.
and I seconded, yeah.
Gelman,
Yes.
Corn,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Kansas.
Yes.
All right. If I could just follow up.
Yeah.
Real quick to that one.
Sure.
Something I know this staff is very, wants to move towards, way miles and local roads and pushing towards that. It's something that we need to discuss, and I think at the board level and some subcommittees is the way that our local roads are funded.
Yeah.
Get replaced. So right now we're 50% match is all that we can do on local roads. So we're looking for the townships to partner if they don't have that funding. And we set that $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year aside for them to be able to put into the project. We'll let them pull 3 years of that, put towards, that's our 50%. When we say 50%, we don't, if somebody comes to us with a $2 million project, it would bankrupt us if we just threw $1 million at it. So, that might only be $100,000 that's able to go towards that local road. So then by saying that, we can't fund a lot of these roads. So we have to change our policies of how we're gonna allocate this money. We're gonna spend more money towards locals and then primary roads. So.
Go ahead.
I don't care. I'll take my turn. When I started only 3 years and 4 months ago, we gave $500,000 to local roads. Today, our budget is $500,000 to local roads, and our purchasing power has been cut in half. So we honestly we should throw $1 million in there for next year. And if other things have to wait, because that's only keeping that, which is too small to begin with all miles of local roads. It's not enough. And we're getting hammered on whether we classify Frankie as a local road or we find a way to make that a primary road through there because the traffic is so heavy. We're getting hammered on those things. That budget, we've got really nice plow trucks. We've got the nicest plow truck fleet in the nation. We need to, maybe our plow trucks don't all have to be quite so nice. Maybe we need to moderate some of these things. I wanted a truck wash. We got a truck wash for Kingsley. Those trucks are going to last longer.
Yep.
We can maybe be a little more careful. We don't like the emissions coming up. Maybe there's some of the capital goods that we've spent. Maybe that really has to go into roads and a few things.
I think we're right on the brink of that with what we've done with the fleet management plan. We had a truck that was plowing this year that was a spare truck that still went out. The frame broke in half on that truck. We still have a few of those trucks there that need to go.
Still have some of those left.
There's a few of them left. It's like a 2005 with a great truck. We didn't realize it broke the rear axles. So we are the trucks that we have ordered here over the next few years. We are allocating money should get us to where we need to be, get those trucks out. And I totally agree. At that point, I think we can take a breather.
And I'm gonna just make one point. I was at an MTA meeting, on a panel, and Huron County, Little Huron County has 35,000 people. Each township has a village. And the townships contribute $9 to $10.5 million a year for the operations of roads in their townships. I don't know where the decision was made in Grand Traverse County to not do that and to go to SADs. But somewhere in the history, we decided to do SADs versus push for villages. And maybe that's, I don't know if we could get a township to do that or not, but there might be some, what's the other one down there? Allegan County has a deal with the one mill for the entire county, and then each one has a partial mill. I can't remember exactly how it works.
Bill's actually been spending a little bit of time on this, and he's even found Kalkaska and Fensley County do the same thing around us.
Yeah.
Township villages, so.
So there's some other things I could do.
Right, you could ask for more money.
So, but I just, there are other ways to do this, but it.
Yeah, I can tell you that I had a conversation with Ron Lemko just recently about the possibility of a village in Long Lake Township. And the last time there was a village proposal, it lost by more than 20 percentage points. And so according by law, they had to get a petition with over 51% of the voters because of the margin by which the village proposal lost. So that's how popular villages are if you go to the township here. So I understand that in theory that's how it works. It should work. But I wanted to make 2 points. First of all, I think we have an opportunity. Last time I talked, I think we are waiting for the state to certify the census, but there's a process by which we can evaluate where the primary roads are, and maybe that is something we can consider as to whether we change the status of some big local roads into primary roads. But I think we are waiting for the state to certify the census, and they're like really behind. The last time I had this discussion with Wade. The other thing, and I said that at the last, when we approved the last budget, is I want to start seeing some of these projects actually getting budgeted rather than just chip and seal. And if we are going to, for example, Town Line Road, similar type projects, I want them to start be included as part of a budget for the upcoming year. So we act rather than just bringing it up and then trying to find funding sources. And let's start preparing for these projects and start budgeting them so that we know what we have to save for and what we have to, and what we have to budget for, rather than trying to go to the township to get them to buy money. And then that gets used against us. And it has been brought up again and again at the Board of Commissioners meeting. How we knew that we were going to work on Town Line Road and how that we didn't budget for it. So I think that's something that we
That
can.
was actually, I would say, my fault when the management changeover, looking at, we had going different things, so new management, new direction, looking at some of those roads. For sure, but one good thing I think.
Looking at a bad road is not your fault.
No.
No, I'm just saying, like, all of a sudden look at, hey, something's gotta happen here,
Partially on 3 Mile next year, so.
Yeah, we should have 3 Mile closed
Yeah.
on 2 ends.
Could have been done by the previous, because we knew that we were gonna shut down 3 Mile.
But one thing I will say, I think, reference Larry here a little bit, I think we are on right there with Transmat, probably months away from having this goal and having this 3 to 5 year plan. We are so close right now. We are right there.
Yeah, we're gonna start working on our kind of a weekly or bi-weekly meetings to go over that report and then start getting a 1 to 3 year plan going. And if we can keep going and get that momentum going, maybe we can get out to a 5 year plan.
I think there should be no surprises on roads. That we should know exactly what we're doing in 3 years from now.
And in conjunction with that, because this is relevant to you, we also are looking at the policy that you both recommended about the build standards, so that we can actually make it easier to improve these roads and everything by relaxing some of those standards and.
In areas where it will degrade the use of the roads or the safety of the roads.
Yeah.
That was what I was really trying to say was, I'm not talking about throwing away an asset management plan or the staff did do right. We as a board can hear things and set policy that help make these things happen and translate to a more visual pleasing for the people that are voting for the millage. That's all.
Yes.
We owe it to them.
So moving on to item N, 12-month City Works renewal. It's on page 126 of your packet. It's the staff is asking, is recommending that we enter into a 12-month maintenance agreement with City Works for $43,000. And for those of, I mean, if you want Dan or.
As we say, I'll make the motion to renew City Works in the amount of 43,000 or less.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Underwood to enter into a 12-month maintenance agreement with City Works for $43,000. Is that support?
Sure.
Support by Commissioner Lehman. Any discussion, any questions regarding what this is about? Larry, if you want to, okay.
It's just basically our work order management system that we're using, and that backs up our asset management for each individual asset that we own. You know, we're using it especially for signals heavy, and then we're also using it for.
This is it, right? Like these graphs we get that show us how many work orders and.
Yes.
So that's all City Works, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, because I was reading that, 1,673 potholes filled.
I got a couple more.
So last time, the 6 months this was up, or enough for the year, 6 months ago, so when it was first coming on board, and I wasn't comfortable with it because it was overcomplicated, our guys were struggling with it. It was taking a long time. Yeah, we're City Works, Larry's put a lot of time into it, and we've streamlined it. And it is working a lot better now.
That was my concern, because as you know, when we started this 6 years ago, roughly,
Oh, wow.
it's been 6 years.
Probably
We started talking about.
probably four. I started in, when I started. 2020.
It started when you started.
Yeah.
It was 3.5 years.
Okay, so it's only 3.5 years? You've only been here 3.5 years. Seems long.
It's definitely matured, and we've figured out how to do some reports and analysis out of it, and it's gonna work well with our Transmap data. It's really starting to grow as a kind of centralized database for what we're doing.
Okay, we have to have something in this.
Yeah, something, this is what you picked.
We were able to streamline it for our crews before. That was my biggest concern coming from back there. I was like, it's taking longer than working.
And that would my sense, I remember you bringing that up.
For us,
We've only had one tablet run over by a truck. That's pretty good.
You could run mine over.
That's not.
So there's more kind of stuff that's called quick capture, and it works a lot better for our guys in the field. So
Okay.
I'm much more comfortable with it.
Take a vote.
All right, let's take a vote. Roll call, please.
Horn,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Underwood.
Yes.
Gilman.
Yes.
Chasm.
Yes. It passes. All right, move on to informational items. First item is manager's comments.
Couple different things, some projects that were going, Forest Lodge was now done, so
Yeah.
that's awesome. I think I talked about before, but Blue Star is done as well, so I know those were two big projects. I actually drove Forest Lodge today, and it looks great.
I didn't say that went fast. They did
Yeah,
that.
they did a really nice job out there.
As bad as it was.
There's like lamp posts and some roads out there. There's a little extra money left. We did some wedging and skim patching.
Oh, good.
There's still some potholes, so we're gonna have crews out there now they're gone and try to get those potholes filled at the same time.
Walnut Township actually put a 50 grand up.
They did, but because it came in
Walnut Township.
under budget, right?
Part of that was that, but they actually put some money for that as well. So wow.
So we're gonna get out there and try to get those potholes, filled in, make the whole project look like, we tried to do something there. Allison transmissions, I think I spoke about those last time, how the military delay, they don't know where to put those trucks, probably a year out. We sent 6 guys up to Emmett County, and they're really nice up there. There's a transmission up there, it's called the DT12. And the guys had the opportunity to drive it, really put it to the test, and it's not the Allison transmission, but it's a lot better than a manual transmission or an Aldership we've tried in the past. And everybody felt pretty comfortable with that. So we had a meeting actually today about it, and we're thinking that we're gonna try that for the 4 trucks that are coming. So we can at least get those trucks yet this year and not be a year and a half out and not see those trucks. The good news is there should be a little bit of reduction in price on those for the cheaper transmission. So, open forward with that. I just want to talk about the videos a little bit. We got some videos out. I think we'll probably see the women of GTCRC. Those are awesome. I think they've gone over really well. We just had a new one released, our high ridge.
That was good.
Our high ridge videos, and I think that really shows what we're trying to do here. We're trying to go more to a maintenance stance. We did finish up now the grass and the root system for here too thick for us. We did hit our goal of accomplishing around 200 miles. And I mean, years previous, we did 5 miles. We were doing something. So I think to do 200 miles and what that's going to do, get that water off the road, is huge. So to showcase that on a video and people actually see, oh, that's what that group of trucks is doing.
Are there any plans for a video for men over 50 of the road commission?
It's a calendar. I mean, it is a calendar. Mr. July.
Okay, I was just curious. I mean, just so you know.
I am working on the other,
Yeah. Mr. Gilman is working on one for SAD process.
Oh, I love that.
Looking forward to get that one out there too.
it's gonna have less people in it, more talky, but it'll go through and explain point by point.
And the new website with the SAD is in our township.
Yeah.
I go to talking about it, seems to be going all over.
Bunker, you could use.
So the last thing I had was talking about the Kingsley project a little bit. We've got a roof on down there, so it's nice and dry. Don't have walls per se on the sides, but they're next. They started working on the truck wash. They have one brick wall up on that, so you can actually see every building's got something going. It's pretty exciting.
We gotta get down there.
Yeah.
I drive by it a little bit. I guess all this.
Yeah, I did.
more stuff. So. Is that it?
That's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Dan? Okay. Next item, commissioners' comments, questions, and future agenda items. Start with.
Thank you, Dan, and anybody else that was involved in this from Garfield Township. There was a resident that was upset about the roundabout and the people detouring around to the road that he lives on, and his family member is on the Garfield Township Board. And I think he mistakenly sent it to everybody but the road commission staff. It went to the city commission, Blair Township, and Nicole at Blair forwarded it to Dan. And I just wanted to let you know that their board member shared that you immediately contacted
Good response.
him, like super fast, good response, and what a tremendous change. Everybody from those different boards reached out to let me know. So I just want to say thank you, and anybody else on your staff that worked on that. This is what I'm talking about. Just, we hear you. Like, we might not be able to fix it, whatever, but we hear you. And I just want to know what an impact you made to a kind of volatile situation. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, Commissioner.
I have kudos for the crew on Forest Lodge and working with Ron Lempool. It wraps around and goes into a private road, and the what do you want to call it? The transition was a little rough. And you guys worked with Ron. Ron was able to get enough money from the residents that live on the private road. And so there's a nice transition now between the private road and what we just redid. So thank you very much. They're very happy back there.
Thank you, Commissioner Gilman.
I don't know.
I really don't have anything as to future agenda items. I do have a note here from one of our previous meetings. I think we decided that we were going to have our special meeting in June 13th. And I think you made the request that we focus on a discussion about the existing infrastructure. Are there?
Kind of what we've done tonight, but
I know, but.
well, I would like to see us continue those.
Okay. Do we want,
I want to make sure I put on my calendar.
are there any agenda items related to that topic that anyone wants to add? I want to keep our focus on that topic, so I don't want to prolong the meeting.
I would like a subcategory that includes dirt roads, non-paved roads,
Are you talking about gravel?
gravel, not paved,
Seasonal?
no, not seasonal.
Just gravel?
The gravel dirt roads that some of the folks live on,
Okay,
they feel like stepchildren.
Okay, fair.
okay. And yeah, I mean, and then it will basically, I mean, I'm not asking for any kind of a structure or anything. We're just gonna have a discussion, kind of similar to what we had, but because we were limited for time, that we just think.
I just told you, I thought we'd finish this in an hour tonight.
Well, we were 15 minutes into our drain commissioners.
No, but I'm saying.
Like, I love
they
your-
get longer.
But Andy,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right, so we will go have our June 13th special meeting, so please make a note on that calendar.
Okay.
Public comment. Seeing none,
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
all in favor? Aye, we are adjourned.